Hey guys, that are in the chat with us. Just about to go live here and start the show. Just letting you guys know, I was just telling Peter, this is probably one of the more busy shows we've ever had. I don't know if we've ever had this much stuff to cover. I was looking through the notes here, and wow, lots happened in the last little bit. Okay, so go ahead and hit the intro real quick, and then we will get started.
The Dark Tower by Stephen King. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Go then. There are other worlds than these. Death, but not for you, gunslinger. It's time we had our own palaver, I think, and it's going to take a while.
And yet, dauntless, the slug horn to my lips I set, and blew. Child Roland, to the Dark Tower, came.
We are quartet, one from many. The palaver begin.
Hello and welcome to Dark Tower Palaver. This is our podcast covering Stephen King's Magnum Opus, the Dark Tower series. My name is Tad.
And I'm Peter. I'm not allowed to make fun of you for saying that anymore, am I?
No, it's...
they put out a trailer called Dark Tower Magnum Opus. And I can't do it anymore. It's not legal.
And I've told you, man, that's not my thing. That's something that's been said a lot. But yeah, no more making fun of me for that. Also, just to let you guys know, this is a big one for us. This is roundtable number 40. I guess I can change the screen over here to actually show what we're doing here. Yeah, roundtable number 40. So that's 40. A big number for the roundtables. And we're the last, this is our last show before the movie. This is going to be our last filmless podcast for the Dark Tower. So we're going to be in a whole new world starting next week. I know some of you guys are international, and for you guys, I know you guys will be checking out from the podcast for a few weeks because you guys won't be getting the movie when we do here in the United States. But we'll be glad to have you guys back once you get the film. But yeah, we're right on the verge of it now. So everyone that's joining us in the chat, it's good to have you guys with us, and we're just going to dive into it. I was just telling the people right before we went live here, for people listening on the podcast, this is probably one of our busiest shows we've ever had.
A lot of stuff to cover.
There's a lot of stuff that's going on right now, and I mean, because a lot's happened since we came since we did our last episode. We had we've had ratings, we've had teasers come out, we've had a 19th right after our episode aired. We had San Diego Comic Con. Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot going on, and obviously this is the final push into the movie. So, you know, Sony, say what you will about what they've done for the publicity for the film. They've at least, I actually saw one of our listeners, I think, tweeted and said something along the lines of the official Dark Tower movie Twitter seems like me in college. Don't do anything for the longest time and then scramble like mad the last little bit before finals.
What's that? It's due today? Do it today.
Indeed, there's no minute like the last minute. So yeah, that's what we got going. We got a ton to run down here, and so we will go ahead and jump into our intros to start off. If you guys have listened for a long time, you probably know all this stuff by heart, but for new people, it's good for them to know this stuff. First of all, I want to warn you guys about spoilers when it comes to especially the book spoilers, because now we're living in as we get closer to the movie, we're living in a world where we got to be clear that we're talking here with book spoilers. If you haven't finished the 7 primary books of the Dark Tower series, or 8 books if you want to count Went Through the Keyhole, you may want to cry out this podcast. We have freedom in this podcast to spoil freely from any of those things. So if you haven't finished the entire thing, maybe stick to our book club episodes, and there you will be safe because we never go further than where we are at in the journey for our book clubs. In terms of the movie, though, if you guys are worried about movie spoilers, there's going to be obviously stuff book-wise that will probably spoil stuff from the movie, but we don't necessarily go too crazy into like spoilers. Like, for instance, I got the Dark Tower, the Art of the Film book sitting right in front of me here, right underneath my Flag Funko Pop, and I haven't actually opened that up yet because I don't want to potentially see, because if it's like a making of type thing, I don't want to get too deep into that and ruin every plot point in the movie. I'd like to have some surprise going into the theater. So if you're worried about that kind of stuff, and also Nikolai did a Reddit's do these things called Ask Me Anythings, where someone just kind of opens themselves up to Q&As. He did one of those, and in that he actually addressed in terms of how the book and movie relate to each other, and how should a reader that maybe isn't done with the series look at the movies, and how should how are the movies going to affect the books type things. And so we'll actually have some clarity on that going forward. Also, if you guys want to find us, if you guys are listening on YouTube, you are a podcast, if you're into podcasts, you can find us on any podcast service. Some of the big ones obviously are iTunes. You can stream us on Stitcher, or if you have any podcast service on your phone, be it Android or Windows or Apple, any of those podcast services will be available on. So if you don't want to do it on YouTube, go on over there to our podcast. Also, just to give you, if you're listening on the podcast, any of the visual stuff that I show Peter, you can also see on the YouTube video. And if you go to YouTube, you can listen to the podcast while looking at the visuals. But if you don't want to do that, go to our show notes at darktowerpalaver.com, and everything that I have shown Peter will be shown there. Also, even if you're watching on YouTube, go to the show notes and find the links to all the articles that I reference from. I will grab bits and pieces from articles, sometimes a little bit, sometimes a lot. But if you want to read the whole article, go over there. You can find the links to all those articles. Also, if you guys can be so kind as to subscribe, rate, and review us on things like iTunes, that does help the podcast out quite a bit, especially now as the Dark Tower universe is about to explode exponentially. All those reviews will help people find our quartet, I guess.
Yeah, the extended content of Dark Tower Palaver.
Yeah, there's a lot of great podcasts out there, obviously, but we would love them to be part of our quartet. So those reviews definitely help towards that. And also, if you guys want to chime in as part of the quartet, of course, we want you to do that. So, Peter, what's the best way for that to happen?
Best way to reach us is through email. You can email us directly at darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. We also have our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. Follow us on the Twitter. It's at DarkTowerPod, at DarkTowerPod. And also, if you want to find our show on YouTube, if you're looking for it, you just have to search for Dark Tower Palaver. We still don't have a dedicated URL. We're 6 subscribers away.
I think we're actually four away. I think we're at 96 right now. So once we have a few more people subscribe, we'll be able to get our custom URL.
All right, and then if you tune in with us live on YouTube, we obviously have our YouTube chat up. We also interact with fans there, and we have a few people who have tickets already calling out. Pete from Kentucky says August 3rd, 9:30, he'll be seeing the movie.
Oh, okay, awesome. Yeah, we're still sitting around. My app for my theater is now showing the Dark Tower movie, but there's no show times yet. So I will be buying tickets as soon as we possibly can, buy them. But yeah, and also just for clarity, we also know there's a lot of the premiere things happening on Thursday nights at 7:19. So 19:19 if you're in a military time.
Go figure.
But and there is some theaters bungling that and putting it at 7:20. I have seen pictures of that online. That makes me laugh. But just so you guys know, me and Peter are pretty much, if we were to not be at work, there would pretty much be a shutdown of our department. So we are actually unable to go that night of that premiere. So we will actually be going first thing Thursday morning on August 4th, the day of,
Friday morning,
the day of the release. So that's when you guys will see our podcast come out with our reaction show. So if you guys have seen the premiere, you probably won't hear a lot from us. You'll probably see our social media go dark probably the day before, because we don't want too much in terms of like spoilers or crazy stuff like that. So that's when you'll see us chime back in and come back into the fold, is probably right the next morning from the premieres.
We're gonna talk about how that's gonna work next Friday.
Yeah, so next Friday we're going to go, and once we're done with the movie, me and Peter are going to go over separately, and we are going to come back here to the studio separately again, and we won't talk about the movie at all until microphones are on, and you guys will hear our 100% original and fresh take on the movie. Like I said, we're going to even, I don't know,
So this is going to lead into our next topic of discussion, is that since we don't have time for our movie tickets yet, We don't know when we're going to be recording yet.
Yeah.
But it will be announced as soon as Tad's able to find out what time we're going to see it, the earliest showtime, right?
Yeah. It's and generally speaking, it's usually somewhere between 10 and 11 a.m.
Okay, so if it's
for Pacific or not Pacific, Mountain Time.
Mountain Time.
So that like right now it's about 2 p.m. around 2 p.m. Mountain Time. So a few hours earlier than that, like probably an hour or so, if you're listening live, earlier than this is when you'll see us show up because
that's what I was saying is the next topic of discussion is if we're looking at an 11 o'clock showtime, the runtime of the movie is how long now? I still haven't seen.
Yeah, that's actually what we're going to get into here with the news. So let's go ahead and switch on over to the first bit of the news, and we will get into that. And that's actually the very first thing up is back on July 17th. So right about, what was that, a day or so after we did our recording? We ended up posting it.
Yeah.
Our episode got posted right around the 19th or right after the 19th. So
yeah.
The actual, the 17th was like in that magic period right between us recording and us releasing our show to the traditional podcast audience. And this was where the Dark Tower finally got its official first rating and runtime. And this one, to be clear, is from the British side of things. It's from the British Board of Film Classifications on July 17, 2017. And this is from their official website, so this isn't like an article with, talk and detail and rundown. This is just the nitty-gritty. So the approximate runtime is 95 minutes. So shorter than most people thought, and a lot of what we're going to talk about today will be a reaction to that. A lot of news articles talking about it, and I'm sure we'll delve into it quite a bit in terms of what we think and talk about that. But so 95 minutes is what the runtime of the film will be.
Okay.
The release date 18th of August 2017 for Britain, so that's when they're getting it. So a little bit later.
Yeah.
And then also I wanted to do their BBFC's Insight, and it says moderate threat, violence, and horror. So that's why it's rated. So that's maybe somewhat interesting. Genre, fantasy/adventure. And the rating is 12A, suitable for children 12 and up. And some examples I grabbed just from the internets of examples of what is also in that rating for us Americans that maybe don't know what that means. Dunkirk was 12A, War for Planet of the Apes, Spider-Man Homecoming, The Dark Knight. Those are some movies I found that were of that same rating. So that's kind of in the ilk you're talking, PG-13 most likely.
Yep.
So that's from Britain. That came out July 17th. And yeah, that's also I think like with like Wonder Woman. I mean, most of your movies are coming out by and large are in that age category.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our rating. That's our runtime. So Peter, what do you think?
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what was it? Someone was just talking about Thor being the shortest Marvel.
Yeah,
movie.
And that actually came out after this, and I found that really funny because like how Dark Tower fans reacted, and like not even a week later, Thor announces that the director, which is famous for shorter movies, said that the movie's probably going to be 100 minutes or less, and it was just funny because I'm like, I was waiting for this outcry, the same as we saw with Dark Tower, and it just didn't come, and I'm like, that's odd. Like,
I think the big thing is that I was telling you about this when I ran into a random Redditor on a random post that's reading the books for the first time who doesn't want to see the movie because he doesn't understand how they can cram all these books into one movie.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be one movie, though. Like, you know this, at least there's going to be a TV show.
Yeah.
At least.
And they're not trying, and we'll get into that here a little bit as we get some of these interviews with Nikolai. He kind of makes it clear what the intentions are here, and the intentions are not to see Roland mount the tower at the end of this 95-minute journey here.
And that's the thing is, like, that's the other big thing that we're going to talk about, too, is Nikolai's AMA on Reddit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I pointed to that. I pointed to, hey, finish the book series before we talk about, a direct, translation from book to film. You got to understand something about that, but I can't say anything until you finish the series.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of a weird beast when you're trying to talk to someone who hasn't even finished the series about the movies, because the big thing is that the movies come after the books. It's the next cycle, and I can't tell him that because how could I tell him that without spoiling the series?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
It's definitely a weird beast.
Yeah,
so.
Indeed it is. And so also I just want to warn you guys, because as we jump into this next story, some of this stuff is a little bit tertiary to the Dark Tower series, but I think it was interesting enough to bring up. This one was kind of in that realm, and the headline is, "What will Stephen King's cinematic legacy be?"
Stephen just brought up a projection for how much it's projected to make.
Yeah. Okay. So, projected domestic, and Steve, where did that come from? I know there's some Oh, on Box Office Pro is 107 million. Yeah, so like I think at 107 million, that would be. I think that should be enough to justify a sequel, most likely.
Yeah, what Steven said, guys, is Palaver, guys, projected domestic income. That's domestic. Income for movie on Box Office Pro is 107 million. If this is true, then sequels should happen. I absolutely agree with that. If we hit 107 million
domestically,
then
international will probably bring in another chunk of
another.
Change.
Who knows how much there? Because it was earlier in the chat when you were doing the intro. Someone posted that not seeing any advertisements in. It was Sawyer. Still very little to no DT promo in Switzerland, Germany, or Spain/Portugal, where I'm traveling at the moment. Frowny face. Of course, you put a frowny face.
Although, if I recall correctly, he was the one that gave us the infamous flip off of the emoji poster. So
yes, he is. Yes.
So you got to at least give him credit there.
He's okay there. He's okay for using a smiley.
And I also see Scott in the chat saying, "Who's excited for the Emoji Movie?" Nudges Peter. Oh man. But yeah, this is so the projection, that'd be a good one, is to take that down as a note and compare that what we get, once the Dark Tower exits theaters. See what it's at and just see how these people do in the prediction.
That's almost something we should look at when like the Blu-ray comes out. It's like, okay, it's done. How much did it run?
Yeah, and there's usually a point when the movie exits theaters officially, and I'll usually see it like on my scope.
Oh, okay.
So like, oh hey, Guardians just exited theaters for its entire run. This is its final number. And stuff like that. So if we
the grand total is
if we get that for Dark Tower, it'll be interesting to see how close that is.
Yeah,
with that projection. So that'd be good to see. Also,
and Sawyer just sent a bunch of freaking emojis to me.
Oh, guys, you guys have no idea how much I've tormented Peter with emojis. The two things I've been tormenting him most with since the last show is emojis and the countdown for the movie, because he's trying to like keep it out. He's trying to keep it out of his mind. So like all this entire week at work, like every day he's come in like 10 days, dude, 8 days, 9 days. Like,
shut up, Tad. I'm trying not to think about it. I'm trying to keep my mind busy. I'm reading The Talisman. I'm listening to it whenever I can, and I'm watching stuff and everything like that. I'm trying to be distracted. I'm trying to stay busy at work. And so I'm on the work computer, and I'm reading through some emails, and all of a sudden I get an email from Tad. It's like, urgent question. I pull it open.
And this is work email.
This is work email. I got this urgent question. I got to scroll down a little. I'm like, where's the question? I scroll down. It's in big capital letters. Only 8 days. I was like, dang it, Tad.
Oh, yeah. And Steve in the chat mentions the art book. I actually do have that. I mentioned that a little bit ago. I got it sitting here on my desk. Now, I will say I have not opened it beyond just opening that front bit to see what the
cover, the inside cover.
The inside cover, I was told about the design on that, so I opened it to see that. But beyond that, I haven't looked into it because I don't want to risk what might be too much information.
Should I peek, guys?
But I do have my
it's right here.
I do have my Randall flag.
Yeah, so you don't have a Roland Deschain Funko Pop. You only got a Man in Black.
Yeah, Amazon, man.
Sure.
Amazon screwed me over, man. Like they, the day of I was supposed to get it, it was like, okay, the Randall Flag one has shipped and it'll be delivered today. The Roland one said it hadn't shipped yet. It still kept saying it was going to be delivered today. I'm like, okay, did Amazon get drones here in Utah or something? Like, what's going on here? And then finally, like right about the time that my flag one got delivered, I got an email from Amazon saying that, oh, we're sorry, there was some issue with your shipment. And then it gave me a projected delivery date of August 18th, August 28th for the thing. And I'm like, dude, if it was a few days, fine, but I'm not talking the end of August. Screw that. So I cancel my order, and I'll probably go in the next couple days to Barnes & Noble and buy, because they actually have both versions of the Gunslinger.
And Amazon only had the one, right?
They only had the one. Yeah, the one with 2 guns is everywhere, but the one with only the 1 gun, he's kind of got it down along his side. That one is a little bit tougher to find. So yeah, I'll be getting that one pretty soon too. So eventually I'll have a Gunslinger. So as it stands now, the Gunslinger enters the studio, and the Gunslinger eventually follows.
I see what you did there.
So, yeah, let's go into this article here then. Like I said, the article is "What Will Stephen King's Cinematic Legacy Be?" and it's by Matthew. Hold on, let me see. I can switch over this thing here to the rating first. I forgot I have the thing to go with here to give you guys the headlines of what we're talking about. So Dark Tower has the rating. We got that covered. So what will the Cinematic Legacy be? It's Matthew Monagle. I don't know how you'd say that name. Monagle from the Film School Rejects. And that was released. This is released on July 18th, 2017. And basically, this came out right after the time that George Romero passed away, and that was a sad one for me, and I think for a lot of horror movie fans. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I saw something on Twitter, I think it was, where someone said for everyone that's not in the horror realm to understand that this is like our David Bowie loss for the horror realm, and I totally agree. I actually was pretty bummed by that, and Stephen King obviously has some connections to him. But basically, this guy took that to understand that, you know, he saw some synopsises of Romero's career, and like people are able to kind of like talk about his legacy in Hollywood after his death. So this guy kind of goes into wondering what will Stephen King's legacy be in the cinematic realm. And here's some of the notes I grabbed from this, some of the excerpts. He says, and perhaps owing to the fact that Stephen King worked directly with Romero on their 1982 film Creep Show, which is an all-time classic for me, one of my favorites, or the fact that that reminds me of the one of the stories. So that's like almost think of it like Treehouse of Horror for Simpsons, if you're familiar with those. It has a few different stories during the course of the movie.
3 or 4, right?
Yeah, and I think like if you,
I don't remember any of the other ones. So what it is I watch a horror movie a day in October. So 31 horror movies. It's something that I've done for 4 or 5 years now, 6 years, something like that. So last year, what I did is I had Tad set the movies. I'm just opening myself up for punishment when I do this. He set up some weird, creepy movies. None of them like The Descent. I'd never seen The Descent. Tad got me with that one. That was really creepy and eerie and everything. He set me up with Creep Show, and I'm like, one of these cheesy 80 ones. Oh my gosh. Tad found out that I am scared of beasts. Yeah. Like werewolves, creepy killer monkey things. Yeah, no. And Peter doesn't do those.
And there's one where a kid finds a box in the basement of this place and opens it, and there's this creature.
It's like a killer baboon. It's so creepy.
Yeah, and it really affected Peter way beyond what I thought it would. That's for sure. But yeah.
No, I am not watching Trolls 2. No, Steven.
All right, so sorry, he goes on here and says, or the fact that King will have 2 feature films adaptations of some of his most beloved books hitting theaters in as many months. I found myself wondering about King's own legacy as a Hollywood icon. If you're looking for a simple recounting of the many, many films spawned by King's imagination, either as a novelist, a screenwriter, or in the case of Maximum Overdrive, a delightfully coked up first-time filmmaker, this won't be the piece for you. Countless blogs, magazines, and books have dedicated endless words to King's works. I only mean to ask this. When the sun sets on King's career a few decades from now, fingers crossed, how will he be remembered as a Hollywood icon? And I think that's actually a really good question, because
he's going to be a beloved novel writer.
Yeah, no, I mean, we know this. I think he's already gone down. I would say gone down as probably the most successful of
the modern horror era.
Easily of that, but I would even say is he the most successful American horror author of all time? Like even beating guys like Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh, probably, yeah.
That. So I mean, in terms of pure success of money and stuff, obviously yes. But I think just prolific and stuff, how prolific he is. I think that stuff. But I guess the question would be is the movies, because we've alluded to many times on this show about how the films of that are adapted from his works can either be really good or really bad.
And we've had both ways.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see, it would be interesting to see how is he taken?
How is he remembered?
Yeah.
What is he remembered most fondly for? Overdrive? Is that
Maximum Overdrive?
Maximum Overdrive? Or Shawshank Redemption?
Shawshank Redemption, Green Mile. I mean, yeah, you get into stuff like that, The Shining. And then he goes on here and says, when adjusted for inflation, King's films have grossed nearly $2.2 billion at the domestic box office, a number that could be one mediocre Dark Tower and It performance away from matching the $2.5 billion adjusted gross for every Star Trek movie ever made.
Dang.
And that's an interesting one. So, I mean, Star Trek that's been around since 78 for movies, because we're talking the movies here.
Right.
So movies came after Star Wars. They reinvigorated that franchise and started making movies since 1978 or 79, I think. And so since then, for King, which is about actually the same period, because the first King movie came out in about 79. Carrie came out about that time.
I thought it was the early 80s.
No. That
really?
That one came out really shortly after the book came out, actually. So I guess it's about the same. So just for him to go on to something like that against something like that is huge, because I mean, I think about back as a kid when I went to Las Vegas and they had the Star Trek hotel and how big Star Trek is culturally. For King to go up against that and actually hold his own is pretty awesome.
Well, the original Carrie was 76.
Oh, 76. That's right. Yeah. So the author goes on here and says he provided the source material for Kubrick's The Shining, De Palma's Carrie, and Darabont's The Shawshank Redemption, widely considered to be 3 of the finest films of the last several decades. And he's also played mastermind to a slew of popular television shows and miniseries, including long-running shows like The Dead Zone and Haven. And
I forgot about Haven.
Yeah. And he goes on and says, and yet, despite all of this, King's works have always been overshadowed by the talent who adapted them. He says, when your works attract talents like John Carpenter, George Romero, and Stanley Kubrick, the narrative around your films will no doubt coalesce around the skills of the filmmakers over the skills of the source material. For one reason or another, King was never quite able to make the leap from novelist to cinematic auteur, and this makes him less the driver and more the vehicle itself. And honestly, I could see what he's saying there, and I probably would agree. I mean, it's almost a point where Stephen King's a brand. You know, I think like with anything, like, you know, like the Dark Tower trailer, like that said a Stephen King thing. And that's not just to say it for the fact of saying it. There's a marketing behind that. Like to have Stephen King's name on something gives it some level of credence versus same with It. I mean, if It was completely removed and it wasn't a Stephen King novel at all, it was just this movie about a killer clown, I think that they would have a different impact.
There's a different a pull for a lot of people when they see It, a killer clown. Oh, okay. It, a killer clown, based on the novel written by Stephen King. Oh, sign me up.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's like you put that brand on there, and then people just want to see it because they know what Stephen King is.
Yeah, no doubt. And it goes on here and says, King's films become more of a vague grouping of horror and horror-adjacent films than an established and respected horror canon itself. Should King ever leave our world behind, and he goes on and says, and like Clyde Bruckman and Dana Scully, I'm not so certain that that's a foregone conclusion. I imagine it'll take years for film critics to unpack his 236 film credits.
Good Lord.
Yeah, that's insane. Into a cohesive list, and that speaks to King's work as a whole. And then he finishes up here and says, but whereas we can see racial commentary in Romero's films or an element of religion in Wes Craven's work, there is no easy through line for the films of Stephen King. And maybe that's the most damning thing about altruism in the mode of film criticism. If we lose horror's most influential storyteller, I like that that's now in question whether we would actually lose him.
Yeah.
We may not be prepared to do his cinematic works the justice that they deserve. And that's definitely kind of a cool thing to look at. I know that's maybe outside of the Dark Tower realm a little bit, but I thought it was just really cool, and if nothing else, to hear some of those numbers, like 236 films, and the fact that he's right in line with Star Trek for how much money he's pulled in for adjusted gross, like
franchise wise.
That's insane. That's a lot, and it makes you wonder if they were to add up all the ones that he's been in with a cameo, what would his all-time gross be? Because like I know like one of the top ones of all time for actors right now is Stan Lee.
Yeah. Because
he's not an actor, but he's been in these movies now that are adding up to billions of dollars per run. So it's like if you add up all the money that's been in movies have made that he's been in, he's like insanely up there.
We had this conversation one time with someone about which actor is attributed. Oh, it was after we found out that The Rock was the highest paid actor last year or something like that. And someone's like, I can't understand that. And it's like, well, you know, if you want to be technical, the movies that have made the most money making him the most popular would be Stan Lee.
Yeah.
We joked about that. But
because at one point it was Samuel L. Jackson a few years back. I remember when he got the top crown, and that was right before the MCU really hit it big and started getting into the realm where it is now. And I mean, not only the MCU, but Stan Lee's been in cameos in the Spider-Man films, the X-Men, not the X-Men films actually, the Fantastic Four films. I mean, there's been a lot of comic book movies that he's done.
He had a cameo in Deadpool.
Yeah.
So it's weird that he wasn't in X-Men.
Yeah, I don't know why.
It's still weird.
Yeah, I don't know why he wasn't. Although I did say, I don't remember, I remember telling you at work, I really wish he would have had a cameo in Wonder Woman, and it would have just been him looking around going, hey, I don't belong here.
Just walk off screen.
That would have been the ultimate, just the best. I don't know. It would have been insanely awesome. But then again...
They could still do it for Justice League. Like, in the middle of the fight, in the middle of the town, you just see Stan Lee, walk in. You have Flash and Aquaman and everyone fighting behind him. He just walks in and goes... I must have taken a wrong turn somewhere. Turn around and walk back off.
Yeah, Joss Whedon, make it so.
Yeah, we know you got the hookups, Whedon.
Yeah, now that you're in charge, make it so. Okay, so that's the end of that one. So let's get on over to the new video that dropped on July 19th, 2017, and it is titled "The Dark Tower Magnum Opus."
Again, I can't make fun of you anymore. It's used in a trailer.
Yeah, indeed. So we'll go ahead and take a look here real quick at this, and let's see. Oh, actually, let me...
What's up?
I'm actually going to have to go on the fly a little bit and get some audio plugged in. I forgot that I had set things up differently. So I will go ahead and give Peter this cord real quick. Sorry about that, guys. I completely forgot I had set things up a little bit differently for our stuff here. I think this should work now. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
The Dark Tower's always been really important to me. It's been the one story that never really leaves me alone. I just keep coming back.
We got some kind of... Let's see. Let's see. Sorry, guys. Got some sort of echo issue going on here. I'm trying to think of what, yeah, let's see. I got that taken care of. Yeah, sorry about the echo, guys. I'm not sure what we have got going here. That would, let's see. Yeah, sorry guys if it's echoing. Just trying to I set things up differently without really thinking too much about it, because I remember the last few times we actually had some issues with people not hearing some of the audio we were playing. So that was, yeah, let's see. Let's let me sorry, 1 second, guys. The podcast, I'm going to have to edit this out. Guys that are live, I'm sorry, just 1 second, and we will give this a look-see, and I will get this, somebody says it's a Blaine effect. Yeah, let's go ahead and let me test a few things real quick. Sorry, guys, if you're joining us live, go ahead and give me 1 second to fix this. Okay, let me try this again. Nope. I can even test it with myself. Sorry, guys. Trying to figure this out real quick. Let's see. All right, guys. Sorry, I figured it out. It was actually a little bit outside of our normal issue. It was actually our recording for the normal podcast. Because I actually have it recording on a separate program, and for some reason that was reverberating back into the same thing. So now we got it fixed. Sorry for the delay, guys. Now I'll jump into this trailer, and I can already tell because I now am talking without that thing muted, and it is not echoing myself. Sorry, that was a totally new one, and we continue to learn on the fly with these live shows. Sorry, guys. Here we go.
The Dark Tower's always been really important to me. It's been the one story that never really leaves me alone. I just keep coming back to it.
Stephen King's Dark Tower takes you right into a place that you can't even imagine.
Here we go.
Dark Tower is really a corridor that connects all of Stephen King's work.
Misery, The Stand, and It, The Shining.
This is his magnum opus.
Face me, Walter! The tower will fall.
Roland Deschain, he's a gunslinger. A protector of the Dark Tower from the Man in Black.
It's the age-old tale of good versus evil.
I've been fighting the Man in Black for centuries.
He's like the devil, isn't he?
No, he's worse.
Fine line I'm walking, because he's the only one that could deliver me. Yet I'm the only one that can deliver him.
You can't stop what's coming. Death always wins. I will kill him for both of us.
Whether you've read the books or not, you're going on a journey.
I'm enjoying this game.
To see these characters come to life in film, it's really incredible.
I do not shoot with my hand. I shoot with my mind. I do not kill with my gun. I kill with my heart.
Well, there we go.
Holy cow.
Yeah, man, that is something else. That is the mention in the chat here is the "Face Me, Walter" line. That's something else. That's one of my favorite. That is good, and yeah, just so much there. I don't know, guys. What do you think, Peter?
I notice a lot in that trailer. Like, I don't know if you noticed it. Did you catch where Flag has his hand around Jake's throat?
Yeah.
And he's got him, and it's like Roland's trying to rescue him, so like, oh, okay. All right. We also got the looks like we got the demon that Jake is like almost like sleepwalking towards.
Yeah.
And Roland comes to save him.
Yeah.
I think that's what that red is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, oh man, there's just so much there. Like
there's a lot there.
Like the trailer had me psyched and stuff, but there's a few elements in this that just really got me like
the breakers.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's not in the trailer. That's not Gilead we're seeing there on the mountaintop. That's the I always mix them up. Is it Algo Ciento?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to see that place.
Yeah. Don't worry, Eddie doesn't exist yet.
Oh, he exists. He always exists. He's Eddie Dean.
Sawyer, yeah, mentioning that we're recording earlier, that's making it more European friendly. That's definitely good. I like to be a little bit more accommodating to all of our international listeners as well. But yeah, it's definitely a little bit more by necessity, unfortunately. But this isn't necessarily something that we wouldn't do in the future.
No,
it might even be a little bit better for some Americans too, as well. Because I mean, if people are going to go out and do something on Saturday night,
yeah,
you know, it might be easier for them in the afternoon to listen to us.
Next week we'll be recording early on a Friday.
Yeah, but Europeans won't be joining us.
No, it will not. Oh, I forgot. I keep forgetting.
Hashtag Peter is terrible.
Oh, shut up.
But yeah, guys, that video is just incredible. If you guys are listening on the podcast, just go to the show notes right now, pause the episode, and go watch that if you haven't seen it yet, because the audio, there's no way it does it justice. Like, it is, there are some amazing images in that, and I just cannot wait to see.
So I have to talk to you about one thing there from that I wanted to see what you thought about it. There's different images of what Walter's doing with that beam that's attacking the tower.
Yeah.
There's a shot where it's arcing up into the tower itself.
Yeah.
And then there's also a shot where it goes up into the beam.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Have you given it any thought at all?
No, not too much.
Because see, that's the thing is, like in the books, it's break the beams, the tower will fall.
The tower falls.
But it almost looks like he's taking shots at the tower, and I'm wondering if it's like a learning thing, where it's like, I've been doing everything I can to up the power, and I've been taking shots at the tower, and then finally it clicks. Oh, it's not the tower I have to break, it's the beams.
Or the other way around, like I've been doing how many cycles I've attacked these beams, and I'm never getting it in time, so maybe I'm just going to full on attack the tower itself.
Oh, maybe.
I mean, yeah. It could be any number of things, but I definitely am excited to see. I mean, oh man. And I just, Magnum Opus, man, that's something else. And also just to hear Stephen King talking about the Dark Tower and stuff is amazing to me. That's something special. Because
what about the Matthew McConaughey's part where it's like, he's the only one that can deliver me, but I'm also the only one that can deliver him.
Yeah. That
fits right into your theory, sir.
Yeah.
That fits way too perfectly for that.
Yeah.
That's all I could think about after I saw that the first time. I was like, oh, that fits Tad's theory too perfectly.
And which theory are you talking about there? Just
the one where, in order to break the cycle, Walter knows that he's from outside the cycle. Is the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He knows it. He knows he needs to get Roland away from going to the tower.
Yeah.
He knows that the tower needs to fall.
To break the cycle.
Yeah, he needs to break the cycle.
Basically, and that came through our book clubs a lot of with basically the end of book one with the palaver around the fire. Like, too much of it is knowing of things that, like, we as readers, if you've read it the first time, it doesn't mean anything, but if you read it multiple times, things jump out at you where it's like, wait a minute, how would Flag know that? How does he know, things like the future? He knows the quartet. He knows, like, there's a more important number later, but right now the important number is 3.
Yeah.
And then earlier on, before the fire, like, and with the boy, like, that's your soul, like. And so there's like there's knowledge that he has to where, like, my theory has always been that that Flag is a little bit like maybe a higher being in some way to where he is actually, like, cognizant of the repeat. So, like, whereas Roland, like, the second he steps back into the Mohaine Desert, like, it seems like his mind is almost instantly wiped of previous knowledge. Whereas I think that, like, with Flag, it might be that he actually, like, like him, he's already died, but then he gets reborn. Maybe there's times that he doesn't die by the end too. The cycles could be so different that he might be in the middle of something. He might be ready to freaking walk up the Conneray right to the tower itself,
and Roland beat him,
and suddenly he's back in the desert again. Like, and how, like, maddening that would be for him to understand those things, to see this repeat. And then it would also show, like, the hatred he might have for Roland and stuff, because like, it's because of him and his damnation that, like, tertiarily Flag has been captured into this, like, living hell, basically.
Yeah.
And that may be why, like, he's telling him early on in book 1, cry off the tower, because, like, ultimately my view anyway, I don't want to speak for you, but my view has always been is that Roland's only way of redemption is to forsake the tower once it's saved. After Algo Ciento and the beams are safe, the tower will heal itself. His mission's over. And only his pride and his, like, almost like
his tower lust,
his inhuman lust for the tower is what causes him to kill everyone that he loves, or let die everyone that he loves.
It's almost like letting them sacrifice themselves for him.
Yeah.
For his quest for the tower.
Yeah.
Look at Jake with
and that's
Stephen
what
King in Maine. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what damns him. So, like, once he gives that up, and if that means walking through the door of Susanna, that's where I think I came to the epiphany at one point, is that moment where it's like, this is Roland's out. This is it. The tower is safe. It's time for him to go through that door, live with the family that's there, with the fake Eddie and fake Jake and
fake Goy.
Yeah, is there? They mentioned there would probably be a dog later at some point.
Yeah, later.
So, like, but he needs to do that because it needs to come to a point where Roland understands the people that he loves is more important than the tower. So why would Flag, and then, like, knowing that, then when we circled back around in our book club and got to that palaver, it's like, wait, why would Flag tell him to do the right thing? And that's when it's kind of got to this whole theory of, does Flag need,
is Flag trapped?
Yeah.
Is he the one where it's the yin and yang, you got Roland doing this, Flag doing that, but really it's one of those creative moments where Flag is Roland's way out. If he listened to Flag, and that's where my argument comes in, is, okay, if he listens to Flag in book 1 and cries off the tower, what happens?
Yeah.
The beams break, the tower falls.
Tower would fall, yeah.
Right.
So it's a timing thing.
So that's where I think that it's a little like, okay, well maybe, but if Roland does what he says, Flag gets what he wants.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm still, Flag's the bad guy. that's where the whole Tad's theory of Flag is the good guy because he's trying to save his own neck.
And he's trying to get out of this cycle.
Yeah.
How annoying would the whole Groundhog's Day thing be at some point? And then Ryan in the chat says, is Pennywise King's Freddy Krueger? I think that's actually a really good equation, because Freddy Krueger comes at people in their dreams, which is a little bit different than Pennywise, but he comes with their greatest fears.
Pretty similar,
a lot of times. Yeah. So, and that's really what Pennywise does. Pennywise comes at people with their greatest fears, especially in the books. If you've only seen the Tim Curry miniseries, you don't get that as much. But in the books, there's one kid that's scared of werewolves, so he comes at him looking like the 1950s monster movies werewolf.
Letterman's jacket, and the one that stalks through the woods hunting the cheerleader and everything.
One kid's afraid of birds, and he comes as a giant bird. It evolves, and I'm curious to see if this new movie is actually going to get into that. I've heard some interviews with the director that makes me think that they actually might. And there is the one shot in the new trailer that looks like it's coming through the meat locker almost, and you have those dangly plastic things that you see at coolers. That doesn't look like the right shape for Pennywise.
Mm-mm.
When it has yellow, it's like the yellow ring eyes, or gold ringed eyes. Little oi reference there, huh? But no, that one to me looks like that might be something different. But I'd be interesting to see. But yeah, I'd totally say Ryan in the chat. That's a really good equation for sure. But I'm like Freddy Krueger. Pennywise didn't have a bunch of shitty sequels that ruined his reputation and tarnished him into being a freaking comedic second tier Joker.
Yeah.
Let's see, and then. Yeah, so we'll go ahead. So next up is actually the big one, and this is Nikolai Arcel did Ask Me Anything on Reddit, July 19th, 2017. So the 19th, we already got into it. The Magnum Opus video dropped on the 19th. I forgot to mention that we were getting into the 19th. And now we're going to basically be hitting a lot of stuff that came out. The 19th felt like a dump, and there's a dump of shit. They were just here's all the shit. And you know what it made me wonder? Remember those weeks that we weren't, or those months that we weren't getting a lot, where we were just wait, is this a release? Is this? And I was almost bringing you guys stuff where I'm like, this might be something.
This is from the guy doing the soundtrack. Might be something.
Yeah, and I don't think it turned out to be at all. So, so I'm actually wondering if honestly they were, as the date was being shifted and stuff, they had some of this stuff, and this actually is this last 19th. They just dumped everything that was left on us, because this really felt like this could have been 3 months worth of 19th drops all happening in one day. So so let's go ahead and get into the Nikolai Arcel AMA. Now, if you guys are not familiar with Reddit, AMAs, again, it stands for Ask Me Anything. Basically someone, whether it's a celebrity or whether it's just a brain surgeon or whether it's a garbage truck driver, will get on there, and then people will ask them questions and they will answer them. They don't answer every question, obviously, but they answer what they answer. And I mostly weeded through and got to the most important ones. There's a few that were just that's not worth mentioning. But basically, honestly, most of the Dark Tower related ones I did grab, or Stephen King related ones, because I thought they were amazing. I thought it was a really good discussion, and I think that what we've been saying here for a long time on this podcast is that Nikolai knows what he's doing, and he knows the Dark Tower. And it feels like, to me, once his AMA happened, a ton of people online started talking about oh, well, this guy actually sounds like he knows what he's talking about. And I was pulling my hair out going, dude, the freaking shit, the writing's been on the wall forever. We've been saying on the podcast for months that this guy knows what he's doing, and to trust it. That was our freaking calling card for a while. Trust in Nikolai, we trust.
Yep.
And now it felt like the whole internet finally caught up to where it's okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. So it was a little frustrating to me, because it's oh, man.
You should have seen Tad's face after the AMA, and he was telling me about the internet's reaction to it, and he's like, we've been saying that for months.
Yeah, it's like, come on, guys. No, not you guys, obviously, but like just the internet in general. I was just like, especially the cynics and stuff. We were talking, the chat was mentioning a little bit earlier about some different people that are a little bit more cynical about everything and are just feel like they just take every chance they can to shit on this movie or to take shots at this movie. And I have never got that. I don't get like cynicism when it comes to fandom and stuff. It doesn't do it for me. I'd rather give something extra credit and, allow whatever rather than just be super critical. There's no enjoyment in that for me. So if that's your way, then fine. I just personally can't get into that.
See, the thing is like, I'll give you guys a little background into Tad's psyche here. Okay, this is going to be dark and creepy, but it's Tad's psyche here. If Tad doesn't like something, Tad's not going to see it. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Like, Tad dumped on the Emoji Movie at our local theater on Facebook. He just totally ripped him apart. He's like, I would rather burn the ticket for enjoyment than go see this movie.
No, burn the money that the kids...
Burn the money, not even buy the ticket. Burn the money.
Yeah, and watch the money burn for 2 hours.
And then he also said that someone could offer him 3 times the ticket price to go see the Emoji Movie, and he would still take a hard pass. Yeah. If Tad doesn't like something, he's not going to go see it. That's the big thing with me and Tad is that, okay, you know what? This movie looks pretty crappy. You know what? I'm not going to spend my money on it.
Yeah.
And so it's for us, it's an honesty thing. If Dark Tower looks good, we're going to see it.
Yeah.
If it doesn't look good, I'm probably still going to see it for the simple fact that it is Dark Tower.
Yeah.
But I am going to tell you if I'm not excited for it. It's not just us trying to, hype up the show or anything like that. It's our honest opinion. And a lot of these people that are like, oh, no, we can't trust anything about this movie. It's not going to be good. It's like, you guys don't know anything about this movie.
And the thing is that what I came to the conclusion is that there was a lot of people that were basically holding on to an idea in their mind. And the idea in their mind is that these were just a bunch of clueless filmmakers and that they were basically going to botch it. And it felt like they were holding so dearly to that like narrative because we've seen that before multiple times, that they wouldn't accept the fact that like Nikolai knows what he's doing, Akiva Goldsman knows what he's doing.
Right.
Like these are people that have been dealing with this developmental hell for, in Akiva's case, for like 7 or 8 years now. Out of the 9 years that this has been in developmental hell, he's been there for most of it, and he's kept pushing and kept pushing and kept trying and kept getting rejected. Like you stick with a movie only if you believe in it,
right?
And like we'll see here in the AMA, there's actually some allusion to that too, to where it's like I think there's some like good redemption towards Nikolai, but also that he gives some good credit to like guys like Akiva that came before him that have kept this going.
They kept the ship afloat.
Yeah, these guys are believers, man. These guys know it. They love it. They're as much fans as we are. And I just think that a lot of people wanted to hold to that narrative that it was just a bunch of like Hollywood hacks that didn't know what they were doing. They were just trying to exploit this thing, and they just wanted to hold on to that so much that I think this really caught people off guard with this AMA. So we'll go ahead and get into it.
Scott Mills says it's not that. Let me get this so I say it right. It's not so much. It's not so much the waste of money. But it's a waste of time. Time is precious.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's rare for me. Like I usually have to have like like I went and saw the new Valerina City of a Thousand Planets.
Right.
Like because that to me looked great. It looked interesting. I mean, it bombed in the box office, but like that, like a new original. I mean, it's a comic book movie from like a French comic.
But it's something that's never been a movie before.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
when you say original, I take your meaning is it's never been a movie before. It's not a remake. It's not a reboot. It's not a sequel.
And to be honest, it's a French comic, so it's not even something that's really in the American like conscious.
Culture, yeah.
So it's like to me that was an original idea. And it's something new. It's the guy that did Fifth Element, and it looked interesting as hell. As someone that just loves like people that do world building and aliens and creatures and stuff like that, it looked good. And I did it. I enjoyed the film. So that's just the way I work. Whereas like ones like I haven't seen a Fast and Furious since the first one.
Same here.
Just whatever. Like okay, cool. It was a fun little Point Break remake. Then you go on to like things like Pirates of the Caribbean. I saw one, moved on from there. Like I just avoid movies that I know are not going to do it for me. So now into the AMA after a little bit of a side tangent there. So Nikolai, this one, I didn't really take down names for who was doing these. Reddit names can be kind of interesting at times. So I just grabbed the question and then grabbed Nikolai's answers. And what I did is I'll have the link for this in the show notes if you guys want to go through and read it yourselves. All I did is went to Nikolai's profile and went through in order of time, basically, and went through all of his posts and went into the context to see what the question was asked, and then just did it that way. So this is 100% in order of how Nikolai did it versus like Reddit, like aggregates things to where if something gets upvoted, it gets to the top, and it may be a newer comment, but it's the first one listed. I just did it in order. So this is the first question. There are some moments in the trailer that that alluded to other films inspired by Stephen King. The Overlook Hotel, a little bit of Derry. What are some of your favorite Stephen King works outside The Dark Tower, and would you recommend watching or reading anything before seeing the movie? And Nikolai's answer is, it's actually a difficult question to answer because I'm a huge Stephen King fan and a constant reader. I've even taught myself to read and write complex English by reading his books, since there weren't a lot of King novels that were translated into Danish. My very favorite ones were obviously the Dark Tower series, and the others are The Stand and Misery.
Okay.
So that's a good little, that's a good little throw out there.
I gotta stop for a second. I gotta ask a question, and this is gonna make me sound like a real idiot, especially on this podcast. What connection does Misery have to the Dark Tower?
No, he's not saying connection. He's just because the person asked him what. I guess
in the Magnum Opus trailer, they say that
movie.
in the Magnum Opus trailer, they say that it's the one that ties all of Stephen King's works together, and they specifically mention Stand, Misery, and It. Am I missing something? I've only read Misery once. Is there something in Misery that connects to the Dark Tower, or is it just me missing it?
I don't remember. I don't remember any connection, to be honest. And I can't remember. It says someone in the chat, but because I mean that one, Misery wasn't even going to be a King novel.
Yeah,
that was going to be a Bachman novel. So
that's what I'm confused by. Is there a direct correlation there that I just missed? I read it years ago.
Beyond the fact that it takes place on a level of the tower, I don't know if it does necessarily.
Okay.
I can't remember in the video. Was that someone?
It sounded like Kiva.
Well, I don't know if he was part of that. You sure it wasn't?
Yeah, Kiva Goldsman's in it.
Was he in there?
Yeah, he's the one that calls it a Magnum Opus.
Oh, I'm confused with another video then. I don't know. Maybe I mean, it might just be one that's just thrown out there because it is one that has a little bit more like
gravitas to it,
more knowledge. More people know about Misery. I mean that movie was pretty famous for obvious reasons. Kathy Bates is still a psycho I would never trust. Like, sorry, I know it's a role, but like I still can't trust that woman. Like I watched The Office recently as a rewatch, and when we got to the scene with her, I was just waiting for her to pull out a sledgehammer the whole time. So, next question. The person chimes in and says, hello, on behalf of all the readers who are nervous as hell as this movie gets closer, what is the best way, in your opinion, for a fan of the books to approach the film? Thanks. And Nikolai responds and says, you think you're nervous? I'm probably the most nervous fan of them all. And then he gives a smiley emoji. One of the fun things about the series is that there's such a fun and passionate debate culture surrounding the books themselves. I remember as a fan waiting for each of the installments to come out and engaging in fiery discussions about every little detail and choice that King made. I hope that the film will inspire the same kind of passionate debate. As a fan, I'm excited to be part of that debate. So I think that's a really good answer.
Yeah.
In terms of whatever, and it's just good to see that like he is nervous as well, I guess, because I think we're all nervous. We all want to see success here so we can see more movies and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Could you imagine it being on your shoulders to make it happen?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, how many Dark Tower fans are there that have been waiting for this for decades?
Yeah.
For something for this series, and then to have it put on your shoulders to make something good enough to justify making more. Because we all know that you can't fit it into one movie.
Yeah, indeed. And then Martin in the chat saying, King characters mentioned in Dark Tower novels, Annie Wilkes and Paul Sheldon, and Misery Chastain. Paul Sheldon is mentioned in Rose Matter and the Library Police. I can't remember when that's mentioned in the Dark Tower. I don't recall. I'm blanking on that one, but yeah, it's definitely not anything like Hearts in Atlantis or Salem's Lot or some of these big ones. So I'm not too sure, but. Okay, so next question. Hi, Nick. Of all the Dark Tower novels, which did you find the most inspiration for? Which one do you find the most inspiration for the film? And Nikolai's answer is the first novel, The Gunslinger, and the third one, The Wastelands. I love the first one for its effectiveness as an introduction to the world and its simplicity in focusing on the characters of Roland, Jake, and Walter. And The Wastelands, we drew most of the inspiration for Jake's story, even if the film brings in the idea from several of the novels. These are the two from which our main inspirations spring. So, and that makes sense because, I mean, if you look at the first book, there's very little of Jake's story given on the Earth side.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to spend time on Earth, you're not going to find a lot of that in Gunslinger. You have to go to the third book.
The only thing with Jake in the first book on Earth is him getting pushed when Roland hypnotizes him.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything else covered there.
Yeah.
At all. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's, I could totally see that. And that makes sense to me. So then the next question here is, how much interaction did you have with Stephen King? Also, what were your main influences outside of the book series? And he says a ton of interaction. As a fan, the first couple of emails from Stephen, I had to take the laptop over to my mom and show her that this was real. He was a great creative partner from the beginning to the end. The biggest moment for me was about a week ago when he saw the finished film and wrote me an email with the words, and this is a quote, "As far as I'm concerned, you have remembered the face of your father."
Oh boy.
And that's what creator
is there a higher praise
that
you could receive from King?
From Stephen King, exactly. That's a good one. That's awesome. And I definitely love hearing that King likes it, and that he would also use such good Dark Tower parlance to show his approval for the movie. And let's see, next up is actually one that I didn't grab the name, but I do know that this is actually Sawyer.
Oh, is it?
Listener. He got a question in, they got answered. And he says, Dear Nikolai, thank you on behalf of all of us Dark Tower fans who have anticipated this film for centuries. And it has certainly felt like that. He says, my question revolves around the 95-minute runtime. Do you think that this is enough time to establish the broad mythology revolving around Midworld? Or has the tight editing to do with the film trying to reach a larger, and then he put in parentheses, PG-13 audience, and therefore enabling more sequels that this source material so rightly deserves? So definitely a good question there.
Yeah,
and
a lot of people are asking that.
Yeah, and this is Nikolai's response. He says, this film really serves as the introduction to the saga, and I've always felt that we should not try to cram every single part of the massive mythology, including all of the great characters and storylines, into the film. Obviously, the story is supposed to continue into future films and TV series. Hopefully, at the end of it all, there won't be a single thing from the novels that we haven't touched upon in some way. So that's
right.
Yeah, and I think that's what most of us have understood, that this is even though it's taken some elements from later books, this is strictly a book one adaptation.
Yeah,
and things from later books don't belong here. Blaine doesn't belong here. Eddie doesn't belong here. Susanna doesn't belong here. Oid, that doesn't belong here. So that's good to hear, and congratulations to Sawyer, one of our listeners here, to getting something answered. That's awesome. And then next up it says, if you were to continue with the second movie after the TV series, hopefully, will the additional characters possibly appear? Detta, Odetta, Susanna, Eddie, and Oi. If so, do you plan to alter Detta/Roland's conflict or just leave it out? And Nikolai's answer, yes, absolutely. As I think it will be pretty obvious to the fans when they see the film, the whole quartet is poised to meet in the next movie.
Yes.
If we're lucky enough to be able to make one. We've definitely thought a lot about the racial tensions between Detta and Roland and how casting Idris would affect that. I cannot spoil anything, but we're definitely not going to leave this important theme unaddressed. And of course, we're going to have Billy Bumblers, and Oi is one of my favorite characters.
Oi confirmed for the sequel.
Yeah, that's definitely a big one.
Okay, reading between the lines there, tell me if you don't see Nikolai saying something along the lines of what we've talked about before with the relationship of how Idris would play out with playing Roland. Yeah. With Detta and the racial tension.
If nothing else, it shows me that they've already considered it, which to me is comforting enough to say that they have considered it.
And it's not only that they considered it, but they're not going to leave it out.
Yeah.
He specifically says, this is not something we're going to ignore.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, there's something there.
Yeah.
They know that's important. Like you were saying, what's the point of Detta at that point?
Yeah, exactly. So that's definitely a good one. That is reassuring. This next one, will Roland be using the high speech? Say thank you, see you very well, Heil Gunslinger, cry your pardon. And then Nikolai answers, yes, in places, but keep in mind that this is an introduction for the uninitiated as well. So it's probably not going to be heavy-handed.
Yeah, we don't want him speaking in a different language and having subtitles the whole time, right?
Yeah, exactly. And all of us sitting in the theaters nudging the people next to us going, that means this.
We know what this means. we become those fans.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so next up is the question is, I have one question and two follow-ups. Data check, and finally, is this the key? Data chum. And Nikolai's answer here, you will find the answer to your question in a water tank in the Dixie Pig sequence.
I know, I freaked out when I read that one.
Yeah,
I was like, no way!
So chances are, and I do know from previous follow-ups at Comic-Con that it does sound like that's going to be like a blink and you miss it. That might be even one that'll be hard to find in the theaters. It might take Blu-ray and freeze frame to find it. It's not going to be like a super close-up shot of one. I think it's going to be in the background and stuff. So
Lobstrosities confirmed.
Yeah, but they do exist, and that would be a good pet to have in the Dixie Pig.
Pet,
or food.
I was going to say, are they eating them? That's probably where I would go.
Well, they are. Didn't it get them kind of high a little bit, like it was like a hallucinogen or something. Because
no, that was the muffin balls.
No, because I thought he gave Eddie shit about like they're poisonous when they bite me. Like, why are we eating them? And like it was like I thought it was having some effect on them. Maybe I'm mixing two things up in my mind.
I don't think so. I know that he because Roland was he was out at that point. That was Eddie killing the lobstrosities and cooking them.
Yeah.
So,
but I know there's a point when Roland gets after him about the fact of how could you eat one of those or something. So next up, the next question. Hey Nick, without telling us, do you know what awaits Roland at the tower at the end of the films? This is, after all, the last time around. And Nikolai's answer, yes, that's right. This is the beginning of the last time around. I can't really spoil how it will end. So sorry, I feel your pain. And it makes me wonder, does he know? Because that kind of seems a little bit...
almost like they have something planned out for a conclusion.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's very tittillating.
Yeah. Also noticed that he didn't confirm that Roland reaches the tower, going back to your theory.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And then next up, next question. Hi there. I've only read the first book in the series. Seeing the trailer makes me think that it touches on aspects of other books other than the first one. How many books should one have read prior to seeing the movie? And this, again, a good question we kind of got into a little bit earlier, and when we were talking about our spoiler thing. And this is Nikolai's answer. The film is an introduction to the saga. You don't have to have read any of the novels to see and understand it. It was extremely important to me that both fans and people not familiar with the books could go see it. Although if you've read the novels, you'll find many cool Easter eggs and surprises throughout. So that's a good answer.
And Idris covers that as well in the Magnum Opus. Says even if you haven't read the book series, you're still going on an adventure.
Yeah,
and that's the big thing, is that it's going to be an adventure.
Yeah, exactly. So that's that's definitely a good one though. So if you're listening this far in and you're still in the middle of book one, even. I don't know why you'd still be listening, but you can safely go see the movie and be okay. Or if you're even just listening and you have someone that you know that's reading the books for the first time, you can tell those people they can safely go see the movie next week or in the next few weeks if you're overseas, and they don't have to worry about getting something spoiled. They can go watch it through. So
Steven's asked a couple of times if we're going to cover the score. I just wanted to give him an answer real fast.
Oh, sorry. I'm not as able to keep track of the chat as much as Peter is. I mean, I did want to mention that the score had come out in the way that it has, but I personally have not listened to it, and that is one of those things I'm going to save until after I've seen the movie. So we're not going to go in depth on anything about listening to it or anything like that, because I haven't listened to it yet. But I am excited.
We want to save it for theaters.
I'm excited, and I'm just that way. I mean, the Star Wars: The Force Awakens came out, the movie came out Friday. I think the soundtrack came out on the Tuesday before, and I held off. As much as I'm a fan of John Williams and that kind of stuff, I couldn't listen to it before because I don't know, as much as I wanted to. I'm the same with this. I damn near listened to at least one track.
You were close,
but I'm no, hold off. Just let
it's just like the book that's sitting right here 2 feet away from Tad's hand.
Exactly.
He hasn't opened it yet.
Yeah, I got my boy Flag is helping me out there.
He's keeping watch.
Yeah, indeed. He's a good man like that.
No. No.
Next up, the trailer really makes it seem as though our world and Roland's will become the focus, and the multiverse idea of the series has been thrown out the window. Is the trailer misleading, or did you guys decide to simplify it that way? Also, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the trailers in accurately representing the movie? And as most AMAs, it looks like he only really answers one of the questions here. He says the multiverse is explained in the movie, but Keystone, Earth, and Midworld are the main locations. So that's, I think, what most of us were expecting.
Well, that's what we have assumed from the trailers, yeah.
Yeah. And next question, how was it working with Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey? And his answer, they were both assholes. And he says, no, just kidding. Idris was genuinely one of the funniest guys I've worked with, and watching him have fun with Tom Taylor, who plays Jake, was one of my favorite things on set every day. Matthew is a fireball of passion and creativity. He's everything that I hoped for. So that's pretty cool to hear. And even if between sets, in between scenes and stuff, if Idris is playing around with Tom Taylor and stuff that's cool, because that's going to grow the chemistry between the characters, and that gives me hope that when we get there, it's going to be.
You always like hearing these things from the set like that. You told me one from I think it was where was it
Tim Curry?
It was Tim Curry, not the new one.
Yeah,
Tim Curry would not interact with the children at all in between takes.
Separately with them and
he would stay, and he wouldn't ever really hop out of costume. He would always stay in costume and be he wouldn't interact with them and be friendly with them. He was developing that relationship to be separate from them and everything. So
yeah,
it's the same thing here, where Roland and Jake need to be buddy-buddy, and they're being buddy-buddy even off camera.
Yeah.
It's going to build the relationship on camera.
Yeah, indeed. Next up, will Roland retain his love of Tudor fish and Pepsi? That's the question. That's a good one. And Nikolai answers, there's a reference to that in the film, but not the one that you think.
I'm thinking hot dog scene here.
Yeah, it could be.
Those reshoot photos we saw.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a hot dog, not Tudor fish.
Yeah, all of that has a joke all on its own.
Yes, it does.
So that'll be fun. Next up, hi Nick, how hard was it to make this accessible to a wide audience? And he says extremely hard. I remember for the past 10 to 15 years, every time I saw someone was going to do the film, I always went, holy God, good luck, and it seemed almost impossible. But when I read the script, I had thought that they had found a great way to introduce the world and the characters to a wide audience. So, like, there is kind of what I was alluding to earlier, is that I feel like that's a good, like, fist bump to, like, Akiva Goldsman. The script came at it in a way that maybe he hadn't anticipated, and that he feels is a good way to come at it. We also know that he did do some rewrites and stuff to the script, but overall, it feels like the meat of the script is still there and in place.
Yeah.
So, that's a good one. I like that. He also said, the next person up says, will there be cameos of characters from other King books? And then he answers, a certain canine is in there, and a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So, we obviously know Cujo.
There's two vehicles that it could be.
That's been, I was getting that out of the way. Cujo, we already know. They've confirmed that.
They've confirmed
but the vehicle.
It's got to be Christine.
Yeah.
Like, that's the most famous vehicle. I mean, there's from a Buick 8, there's the Buick.
Yeah.
But really, aside from Christine,
it's going to be Christine.
It's got to be Christine.
Yeah, but
right?
Yeah, exactly. But from Buick 8 did come to mind a little bit. But no, I think it'll be that. And then let's see. This next question.
What if it's a Takawa Spirit?
It says other King works though.
Other King works, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So it can't be that.
Well, wait, that's from The Stand.
What?
Isn't it?
No, it's normal cars in The Stand. Takuro Spirit's the Dark Tower when they're in the other worlds.
In The Stand.
Yeah, but it's not in The Stand though.
Oh, right, it's not in The Stand. Yeah,
it's just maybe it's the next door neighbor to The Stand, because we don't get any strange names in like in the Stand. We don't hear any weird things where it takes you out of it. I think as you're reading The Stand, it mostly feels like, oh, this is Earth. But yeah. Next up, this question is a good one, and it says, let's see. The Dark Tower as a franchise operates on a very meta level. For example, Stephen King himself is a character in several of the later books, and those same books contain references to Doctor Doom, Sneetches from Harry Potter, Wizard of Oz, and other metafictional constructs. To what extent, if at all, will you incorporate that into your vision of the setting? For that matter, do you intend on touching on the cosmology King created for the series, the Crimson King, the Prim, etc., in your film? And he goes on here. This is Akiva. This is Nikolai's answer. There's definitely a plan to introduce most of the great and expansive mythology explored in the novels, but he asked us not to put him in any of the films.
Apparently, we've seen Christine already in the trailers.
Oh yeah.
He says he sees Jake playing with him.
Huh. Now, the question would be, because there's a few other videos we still have to watch that we haven't watched this episode yet.
Oh, right.
Also, I could even just mention now, there is the one that came out recently with the Easter eggs, and I'm fully aware that exists, but I did not watch that one, because there's part of me that feels like that's like...
almost spoilers.
That's like peeking into the Christmas presents when you find them in your parents' closet. Like, it kind of ruins the whole Christmas morning thing. I love Easter eggs and stuff, but to have like a whatever 30-40 second video that shows me all the Easter eggs of the movie a week before the movie comes out, that's not really my thing. So I will say if it's in that, I'm not necessarily familiar with it because I haven't watched that video. It doesn't do it for me. But if you guys have, great. But yeah, I don't recall that.
And yeah, Steven, that's the video I was talking about. Is that Ted mentioned it to me before we started the podcast, that there's an Easter egg video out there, and Steven was saying that he likes he delves into spoilers before.
Yeah,
so.
and I think we do. We have on the show a little bit, but I think there's some of the stuff as we get closer that I'm just like choosing not to, just for whatever reason. But yeah, I'm whatever. And looks like Scott in the chat says maybe the Mr. Tasty Treats ice cream truck from Mr. Mercedes, or the Mercedes itself, since they are in post-production for the series.
I forgot about that one.
An ice cream truck would be good. The Mercedes, I don't think would catch enough people. I don't think people would know. But like the ice cream truck would be a good one.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's good. All right, so next up, hi, I'm tentatively excited for the movie, but my main concern from what I've seen so far is that Roland should be the laser focus on the tower. Instead, it looks like he's set straight. Seems kind of odd. Also, the Man in Black as a main antagonist, especially as the one that Roland can kill. Flag can't be killed by Roland, as seen in Wizard in Glass. What's going on here? I really want to like it, but I can't help but feel uncomfortable with these things. And the answer that he gives is, in this movie, as in the first novel, he's distracted from by the Man in Black and by revenge. One of the things I loved about the themes of the novel is that Roland has to learn the right path in order to reach the tower correctly. We brought more of that to the forefront of the film. And he says also, the overall idea is that Roland is lacking the Kef at the beginning of his journey, and that Char is guiding him. We've made that a bit stronger. So
Okay.
That's good. I mean, because that makes sense. Because I mean, how much do you even hear about the tower in the first book until the end with the Palaver?
Not really at all.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you bought like an old version that didn't say the Dark Tower series on the cover,
yeah,
you'd be almost unaware of the tower itself until the very end. So I don't think that necessarily him being off key of the Dark Tower in this movie is off of the books necessarily. But also with this being a new thing, if Roland is redeeming if Roland is redeeming his soul and has more of a soul, some of the shit in his life may have broken him a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, it may take a little bit to get him back on course, because
right.
a dude that has more of a soul, that's seen Charyu Tree and has seen, you know, his family, including his mom and dad and kingdom, die, like that stuff's going to affect you more than the monster that Roland essentially was at the beginning of the book that we know, the books that we know.
Yeah.
Like, he's a Terminator. He doesn't have feelings almost.
No.
So,
I mean, it's not until like book 3 that he starts to show any kind of emotion or feelings towards any of his quartet members.
Yeah, indeed. And I think Steve in the chat here has a good point too. He says, I think they should have just called it the Gunslinger, then gradually introduced the weird tower mythology, etc. And I agree. I was somewhat perplexed that it's called the Dark Tower, because I don't know what are you going to do. Is it just going to be the Dark Tower and then the Dark Tower, the drawing of the 3? Like, are you going to just use that as like Star Wars and then the rest have subtitles, or are you going to or is the next one just going to be called Drawing of the 3 and be completely disattached title-wise? Like, it makes me wonder. And also when you get down to the last one, what's the last one going to be called? Because this one's called the Dark Tower, so you can't call the last one the Dark Tower.
Nope.
So, I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of strange, but whatever. They made their choice on that, and I can definitely see why. I think the whole gunslinger thing may have added a little bit more ambiguity to people, whereas the Dark Tower, like, it's a little bit... Because now it at least attaches to the series, and I don't know. It's tough to say. It could be a marketing thing. And then let's see the next one. Did you make any decisions for the movie just to win an argument once and for all? Which is funny because
directors have done that, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. If you're adapting something that you're a fan of, like maybe you've argued with someone for years as a friend, and then now that you're in the role of a creator, you can just slide something in there.
I need to go direct the last Dark Tower movie.
Why is that? To kill Flag in a more brutal manner?
No, to make a point that he's the bad guy.
To save Oi.
To show you once and for all he's the bad guy.
Charyu Tree too soon there in the chat. That's good. And then this is Nikolai's answer to that. No, I wouldn't do that. In any case, when it comes to Dark Tower, King should really win every possible argument. It's his baby.
That's true.
So that's a good one.
Okay.
And then just to give him credit, AMAs, that's about where his ended. But he actually did come back a few days later to add a few more answers, which is awesome.
He did?
Yeah.
I didn't see this.
I'm glad that he does that, because that's just cool. I love guys that do that, because it feels a little bit less like just a marketing stop than it does like, okay, he actually cares.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And this is actually the guy that did the "Did a chick?" question, and he responded to the answer to his first question, says, haha, I'm glad I asked. And then Nikolai says, you got to stay alert to catch it, though. I forgot he had said that, because I've seen an interview with him at Comic-Con where he says that it's a blink and you miss it type thing.
Oh, okay.
And then next up, maybe this hasn't been shown in the trailers for some reason, but I haven't seen them listed on IMDb either. Are Eddie and Susanna omitted from the film? My only worry with this in terms of tying the books is that if Ka is a wheel, then the quartet seems that it should at least somewhat mimic the original Roland, Cuthbert, Alan, as Eddie and Susanna did. If not, it's not the end of the world. Just want to be going in ready for the film that it actually is. Then the person gives a smiley emoji there.
Why do you have to read every emoji?
Because just for you.
Hashtag Tad is terrible.
And then James here in the chat says, Flag is not a bad guy, Peter. He's just self-absorbed. Sheesh. And then he gives a emoji there too. Sticking out. And this is Nikolai's answer to that guy's question. He says, just as King does in the first novel, we're focused on Roland, Walter, and Jake in the film. Eddie, Susanna, and Oi, they're still waiting in the wings to join the quartet. So that's a good answer. I think that's what we all kind of knew. But
yeah.
And then after he said that, that Oi is one of his favorite characters, someone commented and said, "Oi fucking confirmed," in big, bold letters. And then Nikolai responded and said, "Just to clarify, Oi isn't in this movie, but there's not a single person in the team of filmmakers who isn't uber excited to bring Oi to life in later installments, should we be fortunate enough to be able to make them."
Yes!
So not only does he like it, but it sounds like the entire crew involved, all of them want nothing more than to bring Oi to life. So that maybe even gets rid of the whole, because I brought it up that maybe they had to have to get rid of Oi, especially if they keep getting lighter budgets.
Yeah.
Like something that special effectsy might be hard to do, but no, it sounds like they're all pretty...
James makes a valid point. He specifically did not use an emoji.
Oh, okay.
That is not an emoji.
It's just one that, like one
it's
that would have
been... precursor to emojis. It evolved into emojis, but it's not an emoji,
15 years ago, it was an emoji. Okay, so next up, in response to him saying that his favorite film of all time was... Because they asked him his favorite film, and he actually answered that Close Encounters is his favorite movie, Close Encounters of a Third Kind. It's a great one.
I need to rewatch that. I haven't watched that since I was a kid.
And this person responded and said, "That's funny. Andrew Muschietti, director of the upcoming It film, has the same answer," which is interesting. So both King movies this year have guys that's favorite movie is Close Encounters. And Nikolai answered and said, "This is oddly random, yet maybe not. Stephen King's theme of the mundane meets the fantastic is mirrored in Spielberg's works. By the way, I'm so intensely looking forward to it. Literally can't wait."
Oh my gosh!
So it sounds like Nikolai is one of us, just ready for it.
You got to go read what Stephen said about Flag.
Let's see. "I like to have a pint with Flag, but I wouldn't invite him back to my house party." Oh, and Jarrett I didn't see when Jarrett joined, but Billy Bumbler roadkill cameo.
Oh, dude!
See, that's the kind of comment I would make.
Hashtag Jarrett is terrible. That no.
Oh man, that's great. That's great. So that's kind of cool to see that he's excited for it. That's fun. And then let's see. This person wrote, "Writing this in case you do come back through to answer some more questions, as I missed this when it was going on. I followed the development of this for many years, as there has been stories about it, and plans usually involved multiple films. Is that approach you all have taken in this age of multi-movie franchises, or were you looking at telling it as a self-contained story as you could? And if you don't mind the follow-up, how did you and the others decide what parts of the books to put in the film? And without trolling for spoilers, why did you choose what you did? I've been waiting since I was 10 years old for these films, so I will be seeing it on opening weekend at least twice. Haha. Thanks for doing this, Nick. Best of luck on the opening." So kind of a long question there for sure. But he goes on. This is Nikolai's answer. He says, "And here I'm back. I'll pop in from time to time. This is definitely a film that serves as an introduction to the world, yet it's also a standalone experience. However, we are hoping to continue telling the story and more or less follow the general direction of the novels. I personally have dozens of favorite sequences, storylines, ideas, characters that I'd love to see on screen." So that's definitely a good answer. I mean,
yeah.
Of course, Blaine has got to be at the top of his list.
Oh my gosh.
Can't imagine how it wouldn't be. The next one, this is the guy that asked if he knew what was awaiting Roland at the tower, and this guy follows up and says, "But can you confirm you know what's in the tower? Also, if there's no more films, is there any way we can find out?"
Oh.
And Nikolai says, "Hey, that's a great plug right there. You'll have to go see the movie and all the other movies because otherwise you'll never know." And then in parentheses he says, "No kidding. No, just kidding. Yeah, I have an inkling, but Roland and Stephen King must ultimately lead the way for us to answer those questions when the time comes."
Oh man! That makes me excited because that means that it's not the studio or any screenwriter that's deciding.
King will be involved.
It's going to be King involved.
Is this?
Well, he says King and Roland are going to lead the way.
Yeah.
So that makes me think that the studio, when they signed and everything like that, is like, okay, you know what? We know that we need to have King a part of the team that's going to make the final. Here's the end scene. Here's how we're going to end it, kind of thing.
Yeah, indeed. It looks like everyone's lamenting Oi's death in the book. And I'm not making light of that. That definitely is one of the hardest things in all of the books to take. I think that one and Eddie are definitely the toughest, just because Eddie, mostly because it's out of nowhere. Like Jake, you can kind of see it coming, but Eddie's is just like so out of left field that like as a reader you're shocked, like the first time.
Yeah.
And then like with Oi, it's just how can you prepare for that necessarily?
Yeah.
So. It looks like Martin is signing off. So that Martin, thanks for joining us in the chat there. Yeah, awesome to have you. And then back to the AMA, there's actually one last one. He says, I have read all but the last 2 books. Will this movie spoil the ending for me? And then Nikolai's answer, nope, not at all. So clarity there that if you are reading midway through the series, this movie is not going to spoil anything. So go see it freely. And if you have friends that are in the middle of it, maybe they're in the middle of book 5 right now, and there's no way they're going to finish, don't worry. Take those people with you anyway and go see the movie because it won't spoil anything. So that's awesome. That's the end of Steve says Eddie's death equals George R.R. Martin. Yeah, because I could definitely say I haven't read those books, but I know from watching the show that there is definitely things in that show that are completely catch you off guard.
Oh yeah, just
happy little moments that suddenly turn into horrific things. So yeah, that's the end of the AMA. So that was really cool, and I just really think it's cool to see Nikolai talking in the Dark Tower parlance and just showing that this dude knows it, loves it, gets it, and that's the dude that we have at the helm of this movie, and that's a very comforting thing for me.
Yeah, James makes a point in the chat that Eddie's death is the hardest because he's the only one that lingers after being injured. It's
that's true. Yeah.
Jake's hit, a few words, dead. Oi, ripped apart, impaled, dead. Eddie though lingers.
Yeah,
he gets shot and he lingers. It's like, it's the worst. He drags it out. It's just
yeah. And then Pete here makes a good point. It's Roland's fault Eddie died. # Roland is the villain.
No, it's not.
Also, Roland killed Tull. # Roland is the villain.
No.
Flag, brought Nort back, and
Flag was trying to destroy the universe. All right.
Okay, so next up is actually a little bit of a off topic, but you'll see why we're reading it. Nikolai Arcel to direct Matt Damon's Robert F. Kennedy biopic. This is from I can get the screen updated here, and this is from Eaton Vlessing from The Hollywood Reporter, July 19th. So again, on the 19th, even though this isn't Dark Tower related, but we obviously know why we're reading this, just to keep an eye on what Nikolai is doing after the Dark Tower. And it says the Dark Tower's Nikolai Arcel is signed on to helm Matt Damon's long gestating RFK film for Warner Brothers. The Hollywood Reporter has confirmed Arcel wrote the script for RFK with Damon on board to play the assassinated presidential candidate. So that's where he's going next, which actually is interesting to me because that sounds awardish. That sounds like something that could easily become like a one that comes out in October, November, and has some Oscar buzz and stuff. And this is a dude that's been nominated for an Oscar before. So that's just kind of cool to see. And give a shout out to Nikolai that has brought us the Dark Tower that we'll be seeing soon. That's where he's headed to next. And all I can say, Nikolai, is make sure you're done, because when Drawing in 3 is happening, we want you aboard for that movie as well. Okay, so next up, the runtime discussion continued on the 19th, and this is actually Cy King tweeting about the runtime, and I don't remember. I think I have a screen grab here. I do, and it says, Mr. King says, it's true the Dark Tower movie runs a clean 95 minutes, like the first book in the series, 224 pages. It's all killer and no filler.
Oof.
So there's kind of a green stamp from the King himself that the 95-minute thing is nothing to worry about.
No.
So
nope.
That is that's good to hear, and I definitely am excited that that's kind of what we're that we're hearing, because again, I think we had the early rumors that were a month ago or so about the whole 80-something minute runtime.
Yeah.
And obviously it turned out we have a little bit longer than that, but overall it is still shorter than what most people were anticipating. I think people were expecting a 2.5 hour movie, but it sounds like no, they want to keep this tight. They want to keep it lean,
sure,
and they want to keep, I think the director of the Thor Ragnarok said, he says, leave people wanting more.
Exactly, especially if we want more.
Yeah,
Dark Tower.
Don't overstay your welcome. So that's I think a good thing. And and Steve says King has to say that. No, I don't know. I don't think so, because I think that I think the problem that's happening with this project, especially this one movie, is that everyone is trying to insert everything of the series into this 95-minute movie, and it's not. This is the first step. Whereas something like Star Wars unfolded slowly, movie by movie.
Harry Potter.
It's and Harry, why? I guess why doesn't it have the benefit of the doubt that Harry Potter had? That when they did the first Harry Potter movie, I guess those books are still kind of coming out, but I'm sure at least a few of them were out when the first movie came out.
It was people weren't at least 4 books were at least 4 books.
But people weren't freaking out. People understood. Okay, the first movie's the first book, And then later on, I mean, I know we don't have the same guarantee that we're going to get a second movie, but at the same time, I just don't get. I think what everyone seems to be doing is trying to jam all 4,000 pages and whatever million, 1 point whatever million words it is of the series into this movie, and like even things like Eddie and Susanna just never cease to getting brought up. Nikolai heard 2 questions about it in his AMA, and it's like, guys, this isn't their place. Like,
no,
they're up next. They're in the next one,
right?
You know, just like the first book, we don't want to, you know, like I don't know, we don't need.
It's the same. It's the same equation as like in Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back is where we get introduced to Yoda.
Yeah,
Yoda wasn't in the first Star Wars. You know, we have him in the second one.
Yeah,
it's the same thing there.
Yeah, exactly. Or Palpatine. You like that side more?
No.
Okay, so next up is we're going to move on over to the United States rating confirmed by Box Office Mojo on the 20th. So
okay,
moved away from the 19th, and it's really no surprise here. It's and this is that's still the Stephen King one. Sorry, got my notes mixed up. The U.S. rating was confirmed on the July 20th by Box Office Mojo as PG-13 film, so it will be PG-13. Goes in line with what we were saying earlier with the British one being 12A, basically the equivalent to what PG-13 is.
Right.
To me, it's no surprise. I think we've been talking about it for months now that it will be a PG-13 movie, so
right.
Not a huge concern, not a huge surprise. It's what we expected. So yeah, but it is finally confirmed now.
Yep. So
that is that. So next up is Comic-Con 2017 is the headline of the article. The Dark Tower director Nikolai Arcel on his favorite Easter egg. This is by Marty Sliva from IGN from July 20th, 2017. So now we're moving into the 20th again, like I said. Okay. And now we're starting to get into Comic-Con, which is obviously a huge area, a huge thing. And there was a lot of Dark Tower stuff going on. And this is the few notes I have from it. It says, Arcel noted that there are tons of major Easter eggs in the massive Dark Tower that massive Dark Tower fans will notice in the film. His favorite being the presence of the Dixie Pig in the form of lobstrosities. Anyone who reads the books knows that Roland the Gunslinger encounters some of these lobster beasts in the Drawing of the Three, and what happens next is a bit of a spoiler, but don't fret. In the film, lobstrosities will be kept in an aquarium in the evil cannibal haunt. So no worries to any fingers or digits there. But and then also the next note that he had is when asked Arcel about the moment during the production that he knew they were onto something special, he remarked, and this is a quote from Nikolai, "Truthfully, the first time that I saw Idris and Tom Taylor together standing there, I was like, wow, we got it. This is Jake and Roland." And I think we kind of felt the same way when those pictures were getting was that even official pictures when Jake was involved, because the set leaks were just Roland. And so when we actually got the pictures of Roland and Jake, I think most of us were just like blown away. Wasn't it even that one where they're on the bus together?
Yes.
And it was just like, okay, wow.
That was Entertainment Weekly.
Yeah. So I think that we all as fans, at least us here, but I think a lot of us felt that way when we first saw those two together. So it's kind of cool to hear him saying that kind of that magic moment on set where that's when they realize, like, okay, we got it here. We're onto something. So and then let's see what Steve's saying. The first teaser we got is the one where you actually see the door of 1919 on it in the wastelands. How do you guys think that this fits in the movie? I don't think it does. I think there's stuff that's going to be trailer-wise that's only in the trailers that won't make it to the movie. So I'm not.
I wonder if it's going to be the end.
Could be, or it could even
because with Nikolai's AMA and everything like that, he stipulates that the movie sets up perfectly for Eddie, Susanna, and Oi to enter the world. What if that's the ending shot is, Roland has a vision, he sees the doors.
Yeah, could be. Just it couldn't say 1919 though, I would imagine.
No.
I would imagine you have it say the Prisoner, the Lady of Shadows, and Death.
The Pusher.
Or the Pusher, yeah. Death is the tarot card, I'm thinking. Okay. So that's what we have there from IGN at Comic-Con. And so, I don't think that'll fit in to it all there, but we'll see, I guess, maybe post-credit scenes or whatever. And then next up is from, I think this is titled Why the Dark Tower's 95-minute runtime Shouldn't Worry Fans, according to director Nikolai Arcel. And this is from Anna Clausen from Bustle on July 20th, 2017. And This says, but according to the director, Nikolai Arcel, diehard fans don't need to be worried. And he says, in quote here, the answer is fairly simple. We don't try to over-explain anything, he said, sitting on the couch in the bar reimagined as the Dixie Pig, a watering hole from the book in downtown San Diego during Comic-Con. So that just, I love the picture of that. That's amazing. Nikolai hanging at the Dixie Pig. That's
drinking a Pepsi.
That's a fun one. That's a fun one.
Yeah, drinking a Pepsi. Having a Tudor fish sandwich.
And then there's another quote here. It says, we tried to keep it, just as King did in the first novel, mysterious at times and not reveal too much. Also, this is not intended to encompass the entire mythology in one film. He says, noting that if the film should be lucky enough to earn a sequel or several sequels, they would explore more of the world. And this is him quoted again. This is an introduction to the world and the characters. It is a tight, precise way of getting into the world. The runtime should not be a concern for people. There isn't anything getting lost, and the fans will know that as soon as they see it. So,
thank you.
That's good. That's a good one. And
check out the chat.
What's this?
What James said.
IGN.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I do have that one actually, and we will get to that.
Okay.
For
I haven't seen that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely be getting that here shortly. I think that might be.
You didn't say anything about that, so I was a little worried that you might have missed that. I was like, did Tad miss something?
No, I always have more up my sleeve than I let on.
Oh, okay.
Just like my boy here, the man in black.
Terrible person.
Always more up his sleeve. And then this is a good quote, actually, and this is actually put it into good context for me.
Okay.
Quote: I wrote the Dark Tower. I wrote the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo movie, the original one. And when we were doing that, everyone said they're going to ruin it. It's my favorite book. What calms me is that I'm such a massive Dark Tower fan, he said, joking that he read the books 500 times. That's good. Now, makes me wonder, did he actually read them 500 times? Because if so, he's got to have some sort of a doorway there. There's no way somebody could have read those at 500 times since they came out. It makes me wonder, is he some sort of person of the dark arts, like Stephen King is, obviously, as well. That's why the person earlier was saying if Stephen King dies, because you can't take that for granted. Mr. Barlow there, it might be. Okay, so let's see. And then
Salem's Lot is just an autobiography.
Yeah, it's just one of his past trips. Okay, and then the last up, he says, at least nobody can claim that I don't have a huge love for the series. I know what I'm doing. We really, really tried our best. I'm not really worried. Fans just need to go see it. And that's the last quote we have from him from that article. So, yeah, it's definitely good to hear. And, yeah, we definitely, I can't wait to see what he's done here. Here in, a week? About a week. We will have already seen it. So that's pretty good. Oh, yeah, 6 days.
Shut up, Ted.
And then the next up, the Dark Tower director reveals why the ending had to change, and this is an interesting one. And this is one that is written by Michael Rugo from GameSpot on July 22nd, 2017. So a little bit of a different one that we've seen before. I don't think we've ever seen GameSpot in our podcast before. But this is an interesting one here. It says, fans of the Stephen King Dark Tower are some of the most dedicated around, and some of them are nervous about Nick Arcel's upcoming big screen adaptation. Arcel understands that feeling perfectly. And this is a quote from Nikolai. Again, he was doing a lot at Comic-Con, and this is where we're starting to see it. And he says, quote, if I hadn't directed this film, I would be online right now going, where's Eddie? Where's Susanna? What the hell's going on? Arcel told GameSpot during San Diego Comic-Con this week. And this is another one, quote, like I wouldn't be so nervous really, or I would be so nervous really. So I know exactly how they're feeling, but that's why I feel comfortable in a way, because I know that we are true in our hearts and that we actually did everything that we could. So
that's a really good one.
Yeah, that's definitely a good one. And then the article goes on here, says, look no further than the director's recent Ask Me Anything session on Reddit to witness the fan fervor over these questions. Yeah. Eddie and Susanna are absolutely crucial characters in the grand scheme of the series, and fans are concerned the fact that they and countless more elements of the franchise mythology and world didn't make it into the film. As Arcel pointed out, they weren't in the series' first book, The Gunslinger, either. Written when Stephen King was just 19 years old, the first Dark Tower book was short, surreal, laser-focused on the three characters. The Gunslinger, played by Idris Elba, the Man in Black, Matthew McConaughey, and the boy, Tom Taylor. So 2 is the movie, which Arcel believes makes it faithful to the series. And then another quote, I always felt like you can't possibly adapt this. You can't adapt the Dark Tower. It's too dense. It's too sprawling. It's too many different genres. Every book is a different beast, he said. But then when I read the script, I was like, oh, they're really smart. it's actually it actually is tight. It's lean. It serves as a kind of introduction to the world, the characters. It's really a first film. It's a first film, but it still takes a little ideas from other books, so it makes the world feel rounded in a way. And that's definitely a good way to explain it.
Yeah.
And then he says, quote, and the script was lean, you know, he added. It was like we cut it down. It wasn't like we cut it down or anything. It's pretty much the script. So the script is made to be like, this isn't like something that kind of came unknown in the editing phase.
They knew.
From the beginning, they kind of knew this is going to be a tight film.
You know, maybe that's one thing that we never considered when we were talking about the budget when we found out, is that maybe it's a lesser budget because it's a shorter film. If they're not going out of their way to make a huge, long, 2.5 hour movie, maybe they're purposely going to give it a smaller budget to keep it shorter. That would be a good reason to do that.
Yeah, indeed. And I just think that like the Drawing of the Three, if that one gets adapted, that should probably be a 2-hour movie or so for sure, easily. So next up is another quote. It's quote, it can't be a straight up adaptation, but it can certainly become one further that we get into the series, he said. I mean, let's say we get to make more movies. It can actually be more and more faithful as we go, because what we had to do on this first one was basically just like, this is the world, these are the characters, and this is what the world is about. So then it goes on here, and this is the article again, not Nikolai. It says, some love the fact that Stephen King wrote himself into the story as the character, and others despise it. And then in parentheses it says, R.L. King told him never to do that. And then this is a quote. He was just like, don't ever put me in any of the films. No character called Stephen King in there. So even more of a fine point to it than it was said in the AMA. So it sounds like 100% Stephen King does not want that in there, which brings up an interesting conversation that we've talked about before in the podcast is, King always said that like those later books are like first drafts in a lot of ways. And if he went back and did to the later books what he did with the first one,
what would it be?
What would it be? Exactly. And it makes me wonder, indeed. And the next is another quote. It says, quote, the first book was lean and tight, and it was kind of simple. And the first book was all about Roland, Walter, and Jake. And so it is in the film. It's Roland, Walter, Jake, Eddie, and Susanna. They come later. Oi comes later. So we're actually being kind of true to that, he said. But obviously there's some things in the first book that we couldn't do. I mean, we couldn't have Roland pursue the main villain the entire film for them to just sit around and have a little chat at the end. Like, hey, man, so that's what so that's why we have to have them have it out instead of just sitting around talking by a campfire.
And which is what we talked about before.
Yeah.
We can't have the talk. We need to have, moviegoers want to see some action.
Yeah, and I think the talk can happen a little bit, but that can't be the climax of the movie.
No.
That can't. There's no way. That works for a novel, but that doesn't really work for a movie.
Right.
So but that is an interesting one. That's a big, I think that's a big one. That was a big reveal for me when I was going through some of these. I was like, wow, that's something new to consider in a way of him actually saying that. I think we would have assumed that to be the case, but now that we have it pretty much confirmed that, yeah, we're not going to have a, sitting around the campfire with, our two heroes at the end of the movie as the climax. So, and let's see, the last little bit from this article, quote, I wouldn't want to ever do a film that ended on some sort of cliffhanger, And here's what's going to happen if you go to see this one, he continued. I think that this is very important for any first film in any franchise or any kind of saga that you're trying to tell, is, of course, that it has to work as a standalone film, because you never know, and you always want to give people a satisfying film, right? There always has to be some sort of conclusion. So that's good to hear too, because I don't want to see some cheap, like cliffhanger, like type thing. That's not super, I don't know, that's not desirable for me. So that's that article. And next up is actually another video, and this one is an interesting one because this one, it was posted on Sony's official YouTube on July 26, 2017, but it was when I went to put my notes together, the video was gone.
Really?
It was deleted. And no, I mean, once you guys see it, I think we'll understand probably why it was deleted. But yes, it was deleted. So I have this from a third-party YouTuber that posted it. Let's go ahead and take a look-see at this one real quick.
There are other worlds than these. Worlds where a boy shines against the dark. where revenge is drenched in blood and fire. No one dares to laugh. Where lives are locked up with undying hope. Worlds that have moved on. And worlds that have not. But they all begin and end here. The Dark Tower.
Wait a minute. So Sony put that out?
Yeah, that's Idris Elba. That's Idris's
Wow.
voice. So I can definitely see why it probably got deleted. I'm guessing most likely it's Warner Brothers.
Yeah, a lot of it is from other studios.
But Warner Brothers with it coming out, I think that is probably something to do with it. But yeah, it did get deleted. But dude, that is freaking amazing.
That is way cool. You better save that.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a good one. And I think like the you got the stand in there was one of my favorites. Even though you see Christine on that road, of course you want to take a left to go to Vegas, not right to Boulder. Go left. At that turn.
Boulder.
That turn there. Go left.
No, Boulder.
MOON. That spells Las Vegas. So man, that was something cool, man. That was awesome. And and the thing here, the Dark Tower, the connected kingdom, and king being capitalized there. Let's see. Did some people not see it here on the stream? I don't know. Sorry guys, if you guys didn't see that in the live chat. If you guys are listening to the podcast, go ahead and check out the show notes to grab that video and watch it. Basically, it's just images from Stephen King's different works. You got The Shining, Carrie, It, Shawshank Redemption.
Oh yeah, no one got the video.
The Stand. Oh, that's weird. That is bizarre. Interesting.
Did you pull it up on the wrong tab?
No, we had it up on this screen. I don't know.
Well, you pulled it up over this, right?
Yeah, but it's
okay.
Scrab is supposed to be that screen. Okay, sorry guys, but yeah, we'll go ahead and give you guys the link in the show notes, and I will actually drop it in the chat as well, so you guys can watch it if you haven't seen it. I will have to take a look at the different ways that we have this set up, because it's supposed to just be capturing that entire screen, but maybe I'm not as super familiar with this live stream service still that we're using. But that is pretty cool. Connected Kingdom, pretty fun. I can't wait to just, I don't know. It makes me wonder, like, with all these Easter eggs and stuff, like, can we get a connected universe?
Oh, please.
Wouldn't it be something else, man?
Isn't that Castle Rock?
Yeah, I know. That's what actually people were saying, is it actually looked more like a Castle Rock thing until the very end when it really drew down on the Dark Tower. So that is that one. So let's see. We can go to next up is actually another video, and this is the Dixie Pig thing. So let's go ahead and let me see. I'm going to pull this up real quick, and I am going to see if I can change the live stream thing from the live stream and make sure you guys can see it.
All right, guys. So if you see it pop up, let us know in the chat.
Yeah. Let's see here. Okay, now I think you guys, I know you guys are on a little bit of a delay, so I think you guys will be able to see it. Let me just make sure I can move this over to Peter and where you guys can still see it, so Peter can see it too. Got to make sure he can see it as well. I know you guys are on a little bit of a delay, so you guys will once you guys are hearing this now, you'll be able to see it as well. Now it looks like it is, so we will go ahead and hit play on it and watch this new video here. And this is Nikolai Arcel in the Dixie Pig. Let's take a look.
Hey, I'm Nick Arcel. I'm the director of the Dark Tower, and welcome to the Dixie Pig. Take a walk. So we've kind of transformed this San Diego bar into one of the locations from our movie, the Dixie Pig. It's also a very iconic place in the novels, Dark Tower novels. Basically the bad guy hangout in the modern day New York. As a fan, if you come in here, you'll see a lot of really cool, like small Easter eggs and surprises and things that you recognize. This is the Man in Black's bookshelf. It plays a very important part in our film. It's kind of a place that Man in Black likes to hang out in his bad guy lair. He has a huge bookshelf of ancient books from different worlds and different times. And one of the things we did here is we put all of Stephen King's novels among the books here on the shelves. And actually, Stephen King referenced a lot of his own novels in Dark Tower. Like even put characters from the Dark Tower books. Right behind me is a portal. They travel via these portals to other worlds and back again, like from our world to Midworld. We can go through the portal and go into some of the other worlds down there, so let's go take a look. This is a very significant thing in the film and in the novels, like the all hail, the rest of the sentence actually goes, all hail the Crimson King, and that's the Crimson Eye right there. And the Crimson King is kind of like the uber bad guy of the Dark Tower series, the novels. We're only hinting very slightly at him in this film, because obviously our uber bad guy in this first film is Man in Black. And over here is a really cool thing for the fans, and for me, I want to try this as well. It's like a photo booth where you can sort of animated photo where you can get in and you can get your picture taken with the Dark Tower itself.
So that is...
Holy crap, I want to do that photo booth.
So that's the, yeah, that's what we got for the, what they had at the Dixie Pig at Comic-Con.
Oh my gosh, that was cool.
Yeah, that's pretty fun, man. That's, I'd love to see, man, I just wish that kind of thing was everywhere. That'd be a fun one to be a part of, that's for sure. I'll go ahead and get the live stream back to where we need it to be. There we go. Yeah, so that's what we had at IGN. Worked with Sony hand in hand and built that and changed a existing bar into the Dixie Pig.
That was so cool.
That's fun. The tarot cards there.
You know what we're doing? We're opening a bar here in Utah. We're going to call it the Dixie Pig. It's going to be for Stephen King fans to flock here and try.
Yeah.
We're going to do it, Tad. Let's open a bar.
Make it make it like a destination for people to come.
Yeah.
And for people here in Utah, just make sure you have really good barbecue and they might show up.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, what we have here in Utah for barbecue may not pass in some parts of the country.
But we can fix that.
Okay, so let's see the film's first showings. We actually already talked about that earlier in the show. For the most part, they're going to be starting Thursday nights. This Thursday night at 7:19 p.m. on August 3rd here in the United States. And of course, some theaters screwing up and showing at 7:20 instead of 7:19. So. Yep. Boo to those people.
Boo.
And then we had the Dixie Pig, and got that. And then we also had some art tweeted by our leading men. This happened on July 24th, 2017, and the Twitters of Matthew McConaughey and Idris Elba. So this is pretty fun. And this is first the tweet from Matthew McConaughey. Wow. He says, "I am nearly immortal, as are you, at Idris Elba. For now, at least, hashtag Dark Tower movie." And then we have some art, and I'm actually just going to switch it over to a full screen of the art. So that's pretty fun, man. That's pretty
crows.
Yeah,
that's hint to the stand. Look at that.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's definitely good. Kind of cool. I think this is art done. If I recall, I read it somewhere. I don't know if it was on Twitter or somewhere else that somebody mentioned. I want to say that the person that actually did this, that they were calling it fan art a little bit later on. Sony was, but I don't think it's fan art. I actually think this is someone that was involved in the comic books, the Dark Tower comic books.
Yeah,
that did this art. So it's pretty cool. And next up is the response from Idris Elba. He says, "If my hands can't kill you, mayhap my bullets will. Hashtag Dark Tower movie." So that's a little bit of a turn of the phrase there, because isn't the other way in the books is if my guns can't kill you, perhaps my hands can, and he tries to jump over the fire at him. And I love that he uses mayhap. That's definitely a good one. And then here's a close up of the Man in Black, or the gunslinger, not the Man in Black. We already had him. The gunslinger with the birds in front of him. there. You definitely have some, that's pretty cool looking thing. It's definitely cool to see that art. In terms of, kind of cool to see them animated. I mean, you could definitely see the connection with these and the comic books. It definitely feels like the same art style. This looks like a comic book cover to me. I'm just waiting for the whole Marvel at the one corner there. And then actually, this was tweeted recently by the official Dark Tower. Check out the exclusive Dark Tower movie fan art, which again it's not. At Cinemark's Connections members can snag their own when they go see the film starting on 8/3. So sounds like if you're part of Cinemark's little club, you can get a print of this. So that's the two of them side by side with Dark Tower in the middle. So I am slightly tempted to go and sign up for that membership and go and get one. Okay, so next up is all this keeps happening, and we're getting close to the end, guys. So I know I don't know if we've gone long necessarily, but it definitely has. This is a lot. We usually by this point we're well into emails and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But this has been a lot of news. So this one is actually just got posted. I actually think I saw this last night. I thought I was pretty much done, and then I saw this was posted yesterday on the official Twitter. So it is Idris Elba will be on Facebook Live on August 1st.
Really?
Yep, at 11:15 a.m. Eastern Time. # Dark Tower movie. And so Idris will be doing some online promotional work for the film. So August 1st, figure out what time 11:15 Eastern Time is for you and jump on there. I think they also did say in their tweet to tweet them questions that they will ask him. So go ahead and hit that up. And that should be fun, definitely. Okay, so and then now, as mentioned earlier, by someone brought it up in the chat that now a few days ago, it was I think it was the whatever. Trying to remember what day it was. 2 days ago, I think, from today, was the official score released. It was available for digital purchase and for streaming. The hard copy will be out soon, and this is kind of all over the place. I saw it on Reddit, I saw it on Twitter and stuff, but I kind of gave it credit here because Junkie XL did tweet about it and saying that you can now listen to his work on the Dark Tower score. So we have that you guys can go listen to. Like I said, I'm not listening to it yet. I'm going to wait till after the movie, but you better believe that there will be a good corner of one of these post-movie follow-up episodes that we'll be talking about the score, because if there's one thing I am a nerd about, it is film scores. And Junkie XL, his Mad Max score is one of my favorites of the last 15 years. So really big fan of that score, so I'm excited to see what he has in store for us here. I've seen a lot of positive buzz online. Of course, some negative, cynical type people that I get some cynical things from anyway that were saying that it was just bland and stuff, but whatever. It's what I expect from some of those people. I've been seeing a lot of good things, though, from some people, so we'll see what it sounds like. So, let's Steve in the chat saying the film is so atmospheric, and that's about what I would hope to be. Steve also said, Idris, my wife wants your babies. Can you accommodate? Oh, let's see. Yeah, that's awesome. So that's because go ahead and check out the film score on Spotify, Google Play Music. I'm trying to think. Apple has a streaming service. Go to any of those places to listen to it and take a listen. If you guys are not, if you guys don't care about quote spoilers. For me, music is such a big part of movies that for me, even listening to the score would be enough of a spoiler for me, because I just love that.
It would almost take you out of the movie a little bit, because you'd be like, oh, that's that track.
Yeah.
Oh, that's this. Okay, I see what they were doing there.
Versus me, I like to take it all together. Like I said, I did the same thing with Star Wars, because then I can go back and reconstruct the film in my mind through the soundtrack as I listen to the soundtrack after seeing what it was on the screen.
James,
that's just my way.
James also points out that on August 3rd at 1919 is, if you do the date that way, 8 + 3 + 1 + 7 is 19 as well.
Well done. So the Emoji Movie maybe did us a favor. Is that what you're saying?
Don't you ever say that again. Don't you ever.
Isn't that what...
No.
Well,
bad Tad.
I don't know.
Bad Tad.
If you had kept it where we had it before, July 28th, I don't know if that would have added up.
No. So. Doesn't matter. Bad Tad. Don't ever give that film any kind of credit.
Thank you, Emoji Movie.
Oh, I hate you.
Okay, so we actually are not going to get too much in emails because we've pretty much hit our normal time for the episode, I think. But there is one email I did want to cover because it really felt like you had to cover it. And I think there's actually a new person, Daryl from Minneapolis. I don't think that sounds familiar. If it is, cry your pardon. And his email starts off with OMG, OMG, OMG 29 times. And then he says, tickets have been purchased for an early showing on August 3rd at 7:19. This is actually happening. This is not a drill. This is actually happening. And then OMG, OMG, OMG 29 more times. And then he says, oh, and oi good, flag bad. And then a winky emoji there. And then he signs off, Daryl from Minneapolis. So
I'm just happy you didn't do the email intro.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about your email intro. So that's what we got. Is an email. We have one person I know. We had some people in the chat also mention they have their tickets, and I'm hoping here in the next day or so that I will have our tickets, depending on if our theater will get off their butts and get the showtimes posted.
I really wonder if you just drove over there because it's like right there. I mean, you could walk.
Well, their app's usually pretty up to date to where usually if they've got their showtimes in house, they'll be showing on the app. But then again, like I said. We've only done. We're going to go see it Friday morning, and a lot of times I have noticed that they're pre-sales. They'll show the Thursday night showings, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday don't show up until closer to the release. So
I wonder if they do that just because so they can see like how the movies that are opening this weekend do. Okay, well, how many theaters do we want to take it down to? Do we want to put this one in 4 theaters or 3 theaters? You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah, it's definitely so. We just want to give you guys a little bit of a expectation for what's to come.
Scott points out that that email should have stopped at 19.
I know. I actually thought that's the reason I counted them out. I'm like, that looks way too many for 19. Well, let me count them just in case. So Daryl, yeah, I wasn't going to bring it up, but that was part of me that thought you should have done 19 of them. But
19 greater than 29 for sure. Thank you, James.
So we just want to give you guys a little bit of a just a rundown of what's to expect over the next month or so when it comes to the show, because this is kind of closing out this is our kind of our go home show for the movie. Like next time we talk to you guys, we will have seen the movie. We have talked about perhaps coming to the studio and recording a few minutes before, so you guys will hear us moments before.
Yep.
And then in terms of like the podcast, you guys would just instantly hear us. You know, and pause for a second, then come back, and we would have seen the movie.
You'll hear me screaming like a 12-year-old girl.
But we have talked about doing that. But either way, next time you guys hear from us, it will be the day of the release, and we will be recording most likely for you. Again, Europeans, you guys are not going to be because you guys don't have the movie yet.
I hope they're not going to be tuning in.
But it'll be about afternoonish for us, a little bit earlier than this show was
just live. A little bit.
But it is a Friday, so I do know that there's going to be people that are at work and stuff in the United States. So we may have very little in way of live chat stuff going on, but we will be here talking about the movie. So what we're going to do is next week for the movie, we're going to be here the day of the full release, not the premiere night, Thursday nights. Friday afternoon, we'll be on to record a show, full reaction, and then the week after will be 2 weeks from today would be our normal show.
Yep.
And we will be back with that one. And basically what we want from you guys, especially, I mean, obviously the people here in the United States who have seen the movie, we want just reactions. We want you guys sending in emails. We want you guys talking. We want just a full palaver. And we know that it might take a few shows. That's why I'm telling you guys that this might be what to expect for the next month or so.
Yeah.
Is we want all of this stuff to come in. And also, once it in my mind, once we start to kind of slow down a little bit, the Europeans are all going to get it. And then we can start getting all the reactions from them.
We'll get more reactions from them. Please do not. Anyone who's getting a later release date than us, do not hesitate to email us when you see the film.
Yeah.
We want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Trust me, we'll be talking about this for months.
Yeah, indeed. So I think I think that you guys, that's what we're kind of hoping for. That's what we're going to be seeing. So here in the next, this is the beginning of three episodes that you're going to hear in the course of 3 weeks. So you'll be seeing us weekly because of the way the movie comes in between our shows. And then from there, we're just going to kind of go through and just talk through the movie and just break it down. I mean, we did a 3-hour show on the 2-minute trailer. So you can only expect what we're going to do for the film. But we want you guys to be part of that. So email us if you're European, if you're from South America, Central America, wherever you might be from, and you're getting it at a different time. If you're from Asia, wherever, once you guys see the movie, email us. And then I know you guys are going to go, I don't know if you guys will, but you might go back and backtrack and listen to the old episodes that you missed. But if not, just join in, because you know what? If you have a conversation to talk about that somebody already did, who cares? We'll talk about it with you too.
Absolutely.
Because we want everyone's take. We want everyone's opinions. If you guys love it, email us. If you guys don't love it, email us. Like, we want this to be an open discussion, and we want just to just break it all down. I know there's going to be portions of this talking about the soundtrack as well, because again, I'm a huge nerd for that stuff, so I can't wait to talk about that. I mean, this Art of book that's sitting in front of me right now, we'll start going into that. I mean, this is going to be like, we've been building for this pretty much the course of this entire show. And then, of course, for everyone that's a little bit more in the book realm, once all of this craziness subsides and we've been through all this, we're going to get back into probably heavier book stuff, because that's where we're going to be. So
until the Blu-ray comes out, then we're doing our commentary.
Then we'll do commentary. I mean,
95-minute episode.
Yeah, we have we have all kinds of like plans, but yeah, we definitely know that it's been a little bit book light recently, but that's just because of what's going on. I mean, the movie. The premiere of the first movie only happens once, and the making of that movie only happens once.
Exactly.
So that's why we've done what we've done, and this has been really fun, and we're almost there, guys. So next time you hear from us, chances are it'll be probably, 45 minutes before we're going to the movie, 30 minutes before we're going to see the movie. You'll hear us chime in for a minute, tell you guys how excited we are.
I'm going to be bouncing off the freaking walls, dude.
Yeah, even though it'll be early in the morning for both of us. We're both night guys, so even if it's 11 a.m., that's going to, I know.
Doesn't matter.
It's going to be like Christmas morning for me.
Oh, the worst part about this whole thing, right, is that my wife is going camping next weekend. She has to actually leave the 4th. So she's going to be the 3rd. I mean, she's actually going to be leaving before I get home from work. I'm going to have the house to myself when I get home from work. How am I going to occupy myself and convince myself to go to bed, Tad? How am I going to do it?
I don't know. Like, because I'm the same. I'm the point where it's like, I'm probably not going to be able to sleep as much. I mean, and I'm that's not being melodramatic. I am that way. Like Star Wars, I had a hard time for Force Awakens sleeping the night before.
I did too.
Because I was so excited. I was just like, I cannot wait to see this. I ended up waking up like 3 hours before my alarm went off, and I was just, whatever. It's
pacing back and forth.
Yeah, I'll have to take a few shots of whiskey to take the edge off. Like one of my heroes is Winston Churchill. There's nothing wrong with starting drinking before breakfast. But no, guys, that's what we're expecting. That's what we're planning. That's what the show is going to look like for the foreseeable future. And we want you guys involved. We want you guys just to I don't know. We want to hear from you guys no matter what you think. And yeah, that's kind of what the next little bit's going to look like. So expect to hear from us next week. Expect to hear from us the week after that. And then from there, we'll probably be back to our every other week cycle. And we're just going to break this thing down. And hopefully by the time so I'm trying to calculate it out. So we're going to record next week, record the week after for our normal show, and then skip a week like we normally would to do every other week. So by the time we come back to that episode that has the gap in between, I think that might put us to where the Europeans will have seen it.
If that's the case, we're probably going to have a long episode.
Yes.
Like, plan on some long episodes coming up in the next few weeks.
Yeah. And like, we have a few emails in the email bag right now, and we'll try to get to those as we can, but I do know that the movie reaction emails are going to jump right to the top of the list. So some of you guys that have emailed that know your emails are still in the hopper, we're not necessarily holding those as low priority, but you might be in that weird way to where after the movie craze dies down, we read your email and you might talk about the upcoming movie, and it'll be a little bit out of like funky.
Yeah.
But that's just the way it is, because the movie reactions are going to be our primary focus point.
We should make a point to go see it before the Europeans, like the weekend the Europeans see it. We should go see it again.
What is it? So the 18th in general, right? I think some people in and I have every intention I'll probably see it multiple times. So maybe that's what we'll do is we'll plan on going to see it right about the 18th to get a refresher, so we can come back to it as fresh as possible when you guys in Europe and like I said, I think South America might be getting it later than us too. So so that's the plan. That's what you guys can expect from us going forward. And so that's what, I guess, where we're at. And this is the last bit, man. This is it.
This stretch, man. We're there.
Yeah. So, we'll just sign off with our normal stuff. We first want to tell you guys to please subscribe to us. One of the big things is subscribe to us on YouTube. We only have like 4 or 5 more left. It needs to subscribe, and we'll be able to get our custom URL. So hopefully by the time the movie comes out next week, we will have our custom URL, and we'll be able to just tell you guys to go to youtube.com/Dark Tower Palaver. Also, check out our show notes at darktowerpalaver.com. And if you guys can subscribe, rate, and review us, that would be most helpful, because next week I believe there's going to be a huge tidal wave of new people searching for Dark Tower content. So it'd be awesome to have them join our content. So subscribing, or mostly rating and reviewing, is a huge part of that. iTunes is one of the big places to do that. If you do that on iTunes, I think like 70% of podcasts still kind of come and go through iTunes. So do it on there. That would help us out a lot. Peter, how can people join our palaver about the movie once they see it and they want to join us to talk about it?
Best way to reach us is through email. You can email us at darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook. It's facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. And you can follow us on the Twitter. That's at darktowerpod, at darktowerpod. And then, like Tad said, once we get a custom URL for YouTube, you can find us there. But also, if you want to search for us on YouTube right now, just search for Dark Tower Palaver.
Yep, indeed. And also, Steve also just did mention, too, I completely forgot, the critics will be screening the film on Wednesday, and so you'll start to see stuff on Rotten Tomatoes and online reviews on Wednesday, so the day before the premieres happen. Completely forgot, so thank you for mentioning that, Steve. So keep your eyes open for that, and we'll kind of see what happens there in terms of reviews, and we'll see. And also, I guess we could also mention that at last time we checked, the Emoji Movie was checking in at a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes.
12%.
Oh, did it finally go up?
It finally went up last night.
So 12%. Either way, it's still trending as one of the one of the worst movies in Rotten Tomatoes history. So we can all relish that.
Currently, it sits at 6%. Suck it, Emoji Movie.
Yeah, Peter is Peter has no heart whatsoever for them. He would he will watch it crash and burn, and if it does terrible at the box office, you better believe Peter will be doing cartwheels, around his house. That if that movie bombs, so that's what's happening. Keep an eye out Wednesday night for the reviews. You'll start to see them on Twitter. You'll start to see them on a lot of the movie websites like Birth Movie Death, Bloody Disgusting, Ain't It Cool, I'm sure. A lot of these big ones like that. Check those out probably Wednesday night, Thursday morning. And then, of course, that's when the premieres happen. Again, if you're following us on social media, we will probably be going dark probably sometime around Thursday morning. You probably won't hear much from us until Friday morning after we've seen it, because we want you guys to engage us. But we're not going to look at the stuff because we will not have seen the movie yet.
Right.
So see you guys on Friday morning, August 4th. And until then, of course, we say long days and pleasant nights.
Long days and pleasant nights, folks.
All right, guys that are in the chat, that is the end of the episode. Thank you guys for being involved. I'm still trying to get used to this, reading notes and trying to keep up on the chat. I'm glad Peter's here to kind of call out what you guys are saying in here and stuff. But I'm definitely glad you guys are here with us. I think this is one of our more populated shows for the chat.
I think we found our time to record, man. I think this is it.
Yeah, so I get it. I mean, there's a lot of people even doing things in America during the Saturday nights.
Yeah.
Not everyone's sitting around chatting about Dark Tower on their Saturday night. But
why not?
But thank you guys for joining us. You guys are awesome. And if you guys are joining us from Europe, like I said, we can't wait to hear from you guys when the film comes out for you guys. And someone here says Utah Dark Tower meetup. Yeah,
I'm down.
I mean, if anyone wants to come to this state, I mean, I guess there is.
I feel bad for you if you do.
Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff to see here. A lot of hiking and skiing and
not for us
whatnot. It's just I'm like, I don't know. It's too bloody hot in this place for like I don't know.
That's why we stay inside and talk about Dark Tower.
Yeah, it's like it's been like a scorcher this summer. So it's like stay indoors where it's nice and air conditioned and and then in the winter I'm okay with that, but at the same time I don't know, it gets pretty cold here. But what are you
Steven? iPod you love Cass.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. Who's 825 Chaser? I don't know if he gave his name earlier. I'm right down the road.
It says right there, Chris from Arizona.
It says where?
He's Chris from Arizona.
Oh, I don't see where you're looking at that, but okay.
It's right above.
A few above. I see. Okay, cool. Yeah, this is fun, guys. So thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you guys. Well, if you guys aren't European, we'll see you next week. If you guys Or if you guys have jobs that aren't 410s like us, to where you have Fridays off, you guys probably will be potentially at work, so you may not be able to join us live. But my goal is to have that episode posted before I go to bed Friday night, so it'll be podcast. It will be out there. It may be in the roughest form possible, but I want to have that out there so where you guys will be able to listen to it. So talk to you guys in the future. If you guys can't make that one, then the one after the movie initial reaction will probably be back to our normal Saturdays, and chances are with the way this turned out, we'll probably do it here earlier in the day like this to make it more friendly to everyone. So all right, guys, have fun, enjoy the movie. You guys are seeing it Wednesday or Thursday night. Enjoy it, and cannot wait to hear what you guys think come the reaction shows. Send those emails at us, darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. Let us know what you think. We'll read those emails promptly after we see the movie ourselves. That'll be an interesting one, because I'll have to be looking, because I won't be able to look at the emails before the movie comes out, so I'll have to like pretty much be grabbing them live as we're recording, and like pulling them right off the email thing.
Are you going to read into the any of the critics' reviews?
Maybe. Just I guess it kind of depends. Yeah, we'll see. I think like that might be part of it, but yeah, probably will be primarily be our content first and foremost, and then we'll look at what other people are saying. Especially a lot of these guys that are a little bit more cynical about stuff. I'm putting a low priority on them. So all right, guys. Thanks for joining us. It's been awesome. You guys have made this a fun time. So see you next time.